going on? Welcome back to Kickin' It With. My name is Zac Holcomb. This is Season 2, Episode 1, also known as Episode 52. And today I've got Liz Hengst. Welcome.
Thank you.
First,
I didn't know I was Episode 1 of Season 2.
Let's go. So, yeah, why not, you know?
I feel special.
Yeah, it's not too big of a stage for you, right?
No, we're good. We're just tucked away in a corner. We're good.
Yeah, hanging out in a dark corner in a little room with a door shut, with a bright light. It's like an interrogation room.
Yeah.
And the strobes to really drive you out.
What you initially said was the setup, but you said it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I was like, just hang with me. It's going to be better than before.
Okay.
So we'll see. You all have to be the judge. Like, so let us know if you think it's okay. It's still a work in progress. Amazon kind of let us down today. They didn't make all the deliveries, but...
Does it... Kind of Amazon's thing.
Yeah, do they ever? Yeah, see, look, bam, there we go. Right off the start. But anywho, my name is Zac Holcomb. If you haven't caught any of Season 1, you should go back and check it out, or you maybe catch a couple of these and be like, wow, I got to check that out. Go back. There's a whole run. There's like 52 episodes that we did before we took a little break, but moved and needed a little break before I got back in.
Change of scenery.
Yeah, and summer happened, so no one's watching podcasts in the summer.
Exactly.
So, anywho. You've been up to a bunch of really cool stuff here lately, including giving away organs. How does one go about giving away organs so quickly? I know you just moved to town. You're here less than us, and all of a sudden you're giving people around town organs. How does one get on that list?
You know, just see who needs an organ. And
Is that a Facebook post?
No, it was kind of wild because we had a member of our church who I knew sort of, and because of COVID, she had not been coming to church all that often, and she had all of these kidney issues going on, and found out one day that she was in the process of really putting it out there and saying, you know, I'm looking for a donor. And I didn't even find out from her. I found out from one of her very, very good friends who I've become very close with at the church. And it was just the wildest thing. I went home and I told Chuck and I said, I think maybe I want to donate a kidney or see if I'm a match. Right. And he was like, nope. And I said, that's not really the answer I was looking for. And he said, there's no way I'm letting my wife just put it out there like, hey, who wants my kidney? And then later finding out that you gave some murderer your kidney. And I said, no. We kind of know her. And he goes, oh, he was like, that's different setup. He's like, okay, I mean, what do you have to do? And the first part is like 150 questions, give or take a few online. You fill out, they ask you the weirdest things. Some of the things seem to relate not at all to organ donation, but I guess they probably know better than I do.
Yeah, it's like a personality match.
Yeah, too. It's the weirdest questions. And some of them are spot on, you know, like if you ever had kidney stones and, you know, stuff like that. And so you fill that out. And then they give you a call, and I had no idea if I was going to even make it through that part of it. Right. And they give you a call, and they say, your questionnaire matched, so we would like to take the next step, which is like 1 million vials of blood. I was going to say, yeah. And the least favorite part of the entire thing was you have to do 24-hour urine.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
So that's fun. But, you know, I said, all right, like this is the next step. And I really kept thinking at some point, I'm not related to this woman. I don't even know her super well. I'm probably going to get eliminated at some point. And just every step they kept saying, all right, you know, you're a match, on to the next step. But it was one of those things like, it never at any point felt like we were pushing it or we were forcing anything to happen. It just, everything kept falling into place, even dates that they would schedule appointments. I'm like, I oddly don't have anything going on that day. Mm-hmm. I totally could come. And so then you hit a point where it's literally the most extensive physical you will ever have in your life. So if you're looking for a really good free physical, just offer to donate an organ, and you will then hit a point where they test you for everything they could possibly test you for. Mm-hmm. They screen you for possible future kidney issues.
Really?
You know, they don't want to take a kidney from somebody that has anything that may lead to kidney issues in the future.
Right.
And I said, okay, let's do it. And I'm getting all of these in your online chart. All of these things start popping up of like every test that's coming back. And some of them are amusing because they test you for literally everything. So
right. You're like, oh, actually, I'm pretty good at that.
Yeah.
I got a pretty good setup over here. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's wild. So they test you for everything and everything's coming back really good. My blood work's coming back really good. And they do like a CT scan. They're looking you. They are trying to figure out if you have anything really. They do give you a disclaimer. We may find something that leads to the fact that you won't be able to donate a kidney, but we will probably have caught it so early because they're doing tests that your doctor would never normally do in a physical.
Right.
And then we hit a point where they said, okay, you know, I got a call from the Living Donor Organization and they were like, hey, so we just would like to know if you'd like to donate your left kidney. Like you're at the point where you need to make the decision. Right. And it's a wild feeling to say.
You're like, this is allowed?
Yeah. And they give you a psych evaluation to make sure that you have not been coerced into this. You're not being paid for your organ.
Ooh, darn it.
I did find out a particular youth group student of mine did tell me the going rate is about $300,000. So it's a good chunk of change.
And you only need one, so.
Yeah. It was a little less than I expected would be the going rate, but, you know, I mean, it's.
Depends. Does that include the surgery, though? Like,
yeah.
Are you out of pocket, or is that like, that's the surgery and what you leave with? That's like the lottery winnings.
Yeah. If I'm selling an organ, I don't know. Like, I guess it's worked out in the negotiations.
It's in the paperwork. It's in the contract.
But that's wild too. Like when you're donating an organ, there's nothing no cost to me whatsoever.
Okay, that was another question.
It doesn't even go through my insurance.
Really?
So even if you are like, I thought maybe that was something I would do, but I don't have great insurance. I don't have insurance. Right? No, everything through the Living Donor Organization is completely covered. Nothing went through my insurance. They also, because you're a living donor, you can't be eliminated from anything due to like previous pre-existing conditions.
It's like if you're going in for like life insurance, they can't be like, ooh, they might dock you a little more. You only got that one kidney.
Yeah, you know, but it's because, you know, they're like, oh, maybe you get bonus points because you like donated one.
Well, you probably, you already made it through the rigmarole.
Yeah.
Like, listen, I'm so healthy that they're already using me. That's interesting. The life insurance is the other cheap, easy way to get a good physical.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, everything. They do it all.
True. So
that scares the tar out of me.
If you're interested in a physical, just life insurance or give up an organ.
Yeah, I went with life insurance. And I'm good for another 5 years, I hope.
But what's wild, too, is they are super on it about I figured at some point you sign something, but no, like, at no point are you legally obligated until you are under anesthesia.
Right.
Like even the day of surgery, you could walk in and say, I don't want to do this anymore. And you don't sign anything. There's nothing that makes you obligated to do this at any point, obviously, until you're under anesthesia. Yeah. Then you're kind of obligated.
You've already signed your will or not signed for it. Yeah.
But it's wild. And so it on this side of it does feel a little strange to know that, like, I can't exactly feel it, but I feel it. Like, I know it.
Did you like walk a little off balance?
That was my big fear. Was that I was going to be lopsided.
Like, equilibrium would be all screwed up, or like, you know, maybe your like left or right leg starts getting a little thinner because it's not carrying as much of a load.
I know, like that was my big fear, that I would just have this like limp for a while, but
waddle.
Yeah. I didn't say a waddle. I think I said a crip walk, but
yes.
We did the last thing I did before surgery was go to a Snoop Dogg concert. Would, you know, I was practicing for just in case.
You had your gangster lean ready.
Yeah.
Prepared.
But you definitely feel it, but you can't feel it. It's like a weird in between. And to know that now one of my organs is in another human
that's
is
crazy.
such a strange thing to really think about.
So like, do they always pull one side, or do they pull whichever side is relevant? Like, are kidneys swappable? Like,
yeah, they are. That's what's why I did not know. Most kidney donations are taken from the left side. So most people who've ever donated a kidney, it's taken from the left side. And the left kidney is like more donatable. It doesn't have as many arteries or major other things around it. And it's the kidney itself is like it was designed that way to be donatable. Whoever discovered
it was like a swappable part.
That's what the weirdest thing to me, like and I probably should just do some more research on this, but like, who was the first person to go, I bet we could take that out of you and you'd be fine and we could put it in somebody else. Like,
are you willing to give it a shot? You want to try it? Who is that person? It's
I'm okay now.
You know what? Yeah, try it. No way. I don't want to be the millionth. It's weird. I don't do hospitals and stuff though. I'm like super weird about it. I'm like the pass out guy. Like,
it's definitely, that was the people kept saying, thank you for what you're doing and whatnot. I definitely went through a little moment of time there where you almost feel that imposter syndrome where I'm like, I'm not really doing anything. I'm like, this is totally all the surgeons. And that is wild to me. And I said to them as much as I possibly could, like, y'all are doing something that blows my mind. The fact that y'all are taking my kidney and putting it in somebody else and it's going to work and function and make them
like all the wires
a
are going to
better
work.
Human. Like, that is absolutely incredible to me. Like, all I had to do was be like, sure, take it,
Yeah, like the easiest part. You mean I just lay here and take a nap?
Yeah.
Sure.
Cool. And then for like weeks after, people would be like, what do you need? Can I feed you? I'm like, this sounds great. The fact that there are doctors that remove an organ from somebody and put it in somebody else and it functions like that.
How much time is it out before it's back in? Like, is she like hanging out, chilling, ready to go, and they're just
they like
walk
overlap
across the hall
surgeries
and throw it in there?
Yeah, they like overlap the surgeries a little, so cool. And so they time it real well, and so it's really minimal time it's not in. And I mean, people do get organs from like the other side of the country and stuff like that, but they said that's ideal to overlap surgeries like that, and just it's minimal time and. You have two surgeons. So I had a surgeon, she had a surgeon, and they just coordinate. They
just met in the back hallway, give each other a high five, and they're like, you got it from here, dog.
Yeah.
Here you go. All right, I'm out. That's crazy.
I know. Yeah, so that part is wild to me, that there's people who can comprehend putting all the pieces together and it functioning.
Yeah, the working every time part, or most times part.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
I could never imagine that. Like, I always check the box for like donor on my license because like I'm not going to be around for that. But the whole like going in knowing, for me, just choosing to go under and have surgery is the craziest thing. That scares the tar out of me.
That part was the scariest part, to know that the surgery itself, because that part is also crazy to think about, that like they're going to give you stuff that puts you to sleep and you're going to wake up and literally physically just be different. Like,
how long were you in? Did you like stay the night and then out the next day? Like, how long was that?
I was only there for just about 24 hours. And that's crazy. And then they, they look at everything. They want to make sure that everything's functioning. They do more blood work and stuff. And they're like, all right,
get out of here.
Bye. We'll see you at your follow-up appointment. Which is crazy to me too. I'm like, I just lost a kidney,
down an organ right now.
And they kept saying, but we make sure that you're healthy enough that we know your other kidney's going to pick up the slack and stuff, but it's still.
So is that one just like this right now?
Yeah.
Like just curling the weights? That's interesting too. I wonder like how that affects, like the other one. Does it grow over time as it takes on that?
It does. Workload? Like your other kidney will just function and pick up the
chill.
slack. And it's wild to me because, like, how did they figure that out? Like,
Well,
they
yeah.
knew we had to. How did they figure out? I bet they only really need one.
Yeah, that and like, so when the person that's needing one, if they have one going bad, or is that not usually the case? Is it usually like if you have an issue, it's both of them at the same time? Or like, can you be like, my left one's failing. It's cool. Liz had hers removed. She didn't need it. Just yank that sucker out. I'm still good to go. I got my right. Or is it usually like
a year
they both
ago, my grandmother, she's in the one kidney club. She had something going on with her kidney. They took it out.
Left or
You'd
right?
never know. Her left kidney. And that wasn't even a donation. That was just a random.
But that's even more weird that they're like, the left one's the one to take and give to someone else. But your mom's left one's useless. You're like,
know.
What?
Yeah. So it's just, I just wonder who came up with the idea that I bet you could survive with just one and let me test it on you.
That person's like, all right, man.
Or did they just figure it out? Because some people, I know someone who was born with just one kidney. So maybe that's how they figured it out. I don't know, but
I don't know. That's nuts.
And that's all from back in the day when they just like, this person died, let's cut him open and see what's in there.
Yeah, the real science.
Yeah, that's sketchy
days.
science. But I mean,
a lot less than 300,000 back then for a kidney. It was like, listen, 3 shekels.
Yeah.
2 chickens from the yard. And he was like, all right.
You barter for a kidney.
Yeah, you're trading a horse for a kidney.
Yeah.
Literally, that's horse trading. That's how you get it done. And that's crazy. Well, if you didn't know anything about kidney transplants and how that all works, you're welcome.
Yeah.
You can just tune out now. Your life is complete.
All the people that didn't know that they needed to know this. Now you know.
That is literally the show. You never know what you're going to learn. This is so much random stuff. First stop for sponsors real quick, and then we'll go back to who the heck are you and how did you even get here, and then start giving away kidneys. So first sponsor of the show is Big Bark Social. Big Bark Social will help you out with all those website needs, social media, and graphic design. So if you got that new company, you need that logo and that kind of digital presence, hit up Big Bark Social, bigbarksocial.com. They'll get you all taken care of. Stephanie over there, she's pretty awesome. Kind of biased, but she's pretty cool. She'll hook you up. And then second sponsor of the show, Additive America. You can check us out at additiveamerica.com or stop in at 300 North Heritage. And we got a bunch of cool toys now. So we're kind of like a toy shop in downtown.
Yeah, I don't know that you actually do anything else besides produce toys now.
We do a good job of convincing everyone that I do literally nothing also. Which sometimes legitimately is the case.
There have been a couple of times we drive by and that might be the case.
Yeah, Grant caught me in here the other day chilling with the lights off with this light on with my flip-flops, and I was all laid back on the couch.
You had to test it out for the podcast.
Yeah, I was like, dude, come in. It's so chill in here. He was like, it is kind of cooler. And I was like, no, like, it's chill, man. So it was funny. Then I think Steph came down and we were back in here all by ourselves, and she was like, what are you guys doing in this room by yourself? Just vibing.
And then more people, like, what are you doing in here?
Yeah, then Jesse came over. We're like, no, what's going on? Yeah, everyone and their brother was over, but yeah. So how did, you guys came to town in 2019?
We came 2020. We decided.
Were you pre-COVID or post-COVID?
We were like in the thick of COVID.
Summer?
Why not move across the country?
That's why not. Why not?
Yeah, we were living in Phoenix. We had previously lived in Raleigh and Wilmington and ended up back in Phoenix where my family and some of Chuck's family is. And we knew we were going to come back out to North Carolina in general at some point. We didn't know exactly when or how. We just knew that it was going to happen. I was working in youth ministries at a church out there with a group of kids that had been through some stuff, and I had promised them that I would be there till they graduated, and they graduated in May of 2020.
Okay.
And so did they really graduate? It's like, it was COVID. So
yeah, you're like,
they all got mailed pieces of paper, but so they graduated, but I was like, it's COVID. Like, I'm not, and I wasn't going to just pick up as soon as they graduated, but we were like, let's just hang tight. And within a period of 24 hours, 3 people that I knew that didn't know each other, that all knew I was kind of looking to come back to North Carolina, all emailed me the same job posting within 24 hours.
That's wild.
And it was the job posting at St. Mary's for a family ministry coordinator. And it had been posted for a little while, and I was like, it's COVID. They're not even.
Yeah, it's just
like
a dead link or something.
Yeah, but I was like, okay, well, it's still up, so I might as well email my resume and whatnot. And I got a call back, and they said, do you want to do a Zoom interview? And it was still that same kind of like, okay, but I'm in Phoenix. You know this, right?
Know the situation. Yeah, you read that, right?
So we did a Zoom interview, and I got a call from the rector, Tom Warren, and he said, I know this is crazy, but if you feel comfortable coming out here for a weekend, we want to meet you in person, but also we don't want to offer you a job at a place that we kind of knew what Kinston was, because if you drive from Raleigh to the beach, you've probably driven through Kinston, but that was like all we knew.
Right.
So he said, I don't want to offer you something that you don't really know where you're coming. And so I came for a weekend, and it is wild looking back on it now, because we did things like Hawk's Nest was not even doing dine-in service at that time. They were only doing takeout because it was the thick of COVID.
Right.
And, but they were connected to St. Mary's. So they had said, we're doing this interview. Can we come in? It'll just be a couple of us. Can we eat inside? And to think back that I was hearing this interview, walking up and down Queen Street, talking to one of the people who was on the search committee about how much potential I thought Kinston had. Mm-hmm. And here's me and Chuck 3 years later, and we own Hawk's Nest.
Yeah, that's funny.
And I never would have thought that would have been us. But I came for the weekend, and at the end of the weekend, I had called Chuck and I said, I have fallen in love with this place. It has all of this potential. I just fell in love with the church and the people at the church. And I said, so I'm just going to tell them that I'm going to move to Kinston, so they might as well hire me. And he was like, don't do it. He said, you're going to tell them that you'll work for free. And I said, if they want me to. Have you ever seen the movie Doc Hollywood? With Michael J. Fox?
Nope.
So, because he said, don't let them Doc Hollywood you. So it's this movie, he's this big time Hollywood doctor, and he breaks down in this tiny little town, and stuff happens where they make him repay his debt or whatever by working there for a little bit. And it's one of those kind of like a Hallmark movie where falls in love with the small town, mm-hmm. and he ends up staying, and gives up his big time Hollywood life, and he's like, don't let them Doc Hollywood. He's like, they drove you through the cute town, and now you're just going to stay for free. Yeah. But it was another one of those things where everything fell into place. And I did kind of tell them how much I had fallen in love with it. And they called me back and said, can you be out here? And it was a weird kind of, it was easy to move in the middle of COVID. Sure. Because you were already so disconnected from everybody, and we were already so used to being online only. And my youth group kids there, I still did youth group with them for another month because we were just doing everything online anyway. But then at the same time, it kind of hit me that I just up and left. I didn't see anybody before I left because there wasn't, we couldn't do this big send off anything. But we ended up out here, and it's definitely a culture shock from Phoenix or Raleigh or Wilmington, or it's so different. But that was what got me and Chuck, was the potential of Kinston. And he comes from part of his growing up in a really small town, and kind of wanting that same feel for his kids. And our kids quickly figured out what a small town it was, when people that they didn't know were like, where's your mom? And where's your, and they're like, how do you know my mom?
What are you talking about, dude? Yeah, exactly.
So, them kind of getting to know everybody, and you're the hoverboard guy, and they're like, oh, Zach, the hoverboard guy. Yeah.
That's sweet. Moving up.
Yeah. So, but just that feeling of like in Phoenix, you could go, when we were living in the Phoenix area, I could go out different places every day and see nobody I knew.
Not a single person.
Yeah.
For a whole day.
Yeah.
And then come home and you're like, here's the people I recognize. Yeah. It's so hard to get people to understand that that's a real thing.
Yeah.
I explained to someone the other day, I was like, we went back home for a little bit and I came back and they were like, how was it? I was like, great. And they're like, what was the coolest part about it? I said, going out to eat and no one recognized me.
Yeah.
And they were like, back where you're from? I'm like, yeah. And they're like, what do you mean no one back there recognizes you?
Yeah.
And I'm like, there are more people there that would recognize me, but there's so many more other people that don't. Like 1.2 million people live in Columbus area.
That's wild.
I don't know if you understand that, but that's a ton. It's like 100 times as many that live in this town.
Well, and
it's kind of crazy.
That's coming from this. Something stuck to me.
That was the spider on the ceiling.
But I grew up until I was like 15 in New York.
Oh,
and so that's like then being in a place like here where, I mean, even just when I first got here and I felt like I didn't really know anybody, I still couldn't go places without somebody being like, oh, you're the new person over at St. Mary's, or having to tell people that the church that I worked for in Phoenix, I would tell people and they'd say, what do you do for work? And I'd tell them where I worked and they'd go, oh, where's that? And then I'd have to like, okay, well, do you know where this is? Or do you know where this is? And it's kind of near there. I say St. Mary's and everybody's like, oh, like my kids take their prom pictures in the arches
do you
there.
know Johnny?
And and they're like, oh, I know so-and-so, or I live next to somebody, so that was wild to me because I would say I work at St. Mary's, and I'd start to explain and they go, yeah, I know.
They're like, yeah, thanks.
Some of them were like, yeah, I go there or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Or I live right by there. And so that's taken some getting used to, but it's, there's pros and cons to it.
Yeah, totally.
It's nice when you have kids, though, and there's always somebody to be like, by the way, I saw your kid doing whatever. I didn't know if they were supposed to be doing that.
Which the town we were from, that was kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Like my dad intentionally put me in I had like my senior year, I got like a 94 Cutlass convertible. It's pretty sweet. It's white with a white top and white seats. Those don't exist very often.
Yeah.
Well, he hops me all up on this great idea to get me this cool car. I'm like, yes, let's do that. And then we're at like something, and he's like, oh, it was like some booster thing for wrestling, and he was the president of Wrestling Boosters, and so he was like telling everyone, welcome to wrestling season, really excited, blah blah blah. We're a team, we're a family here. This is a little bit different than maybe some of the other teams your kids may have played on, but in the wrestling team, it's a little bit different. So if you ever see a kid running around a 94 white Cutlass convertible and he's being a little pain in the ass, my phone number is 618. And I'm like, he's like at the podium, and I'm like, he's like, that's why I got that car, so he could be like, if you see that one, it's not like the green, the car I had before that was the green Civic. Well, Dad, that wasn't me, man. There's just 100 of them. He's like, nope, he told everyone, it's like, make sure you keep an eye out for that.
You cannot tell anybody that it wasn't me.
Yeah, they got me a couple of good times on it. But yeah, I like that too for the kids. Like what I like about it here for my kids specifically is that like life is still kind of like the America here just a little bit that it was like when we were kids, and like which still isn't like what grandparents be like back in my it still isn't that, but like it's almost like here now is about the same type of a lifestyle as what Columbus was maybe 25 30 years ago. So that's what I like about it, like growing up with like those normal day-to-day values and the day-to-day normals. And there's like different normals in the South from the North for sure, but like they don't really pick up on any of those things. So that's what I kind of like, is like they kind of are growing up in like still America. Where the big cities now are like these hybrid zones of weirdness.
I know.
Crazy
it is
weird.
Nice for them to have that. I think it's good when you're a certain age, especially a teenager to kind of have that feeling of if I'm out and I'm acting some type of way, like somebody is either going to call me out on it or just go tell my parents, like, your kid was, and so it's kind of nice to have that sense that, because even in bigger places, the world is watching you. Right. They just don't always tell your parents about it. But so it's nice to kind of get that idea of people are watching what you're doing. Mm-hmm. And so if you're going to act some type of way, people are going to see, they're going to call you out on it and probably tell your parents. So I'm okay with my kids growing up with that.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. We kind of, so like where we grew up, it was 20,000 people, but it was 20,000 and growing up, 20,000 in streets, so much different. And then it was like an old farm town that just kind of boomed in that like 05, 06 stuff. So everyone was moving out of the cities even more so than, and then, so you have like 20-ish thousand people. Yeah, we're like rolling around town. We're like, man, this is great. It's just big enough.
Yeah.
You're not seeing people but it's still kind of smallish. And then, you do stupid stuff like, my best one that I did was we had airsoft guns that just came out. We thought we were awesome.
This is already trouble.
It was sweet. So we had all of us had them. So we did like senior tag was Nerf guns. We all had a great time. We're like, this is awesome. Let's get airsoft guns and let's play all summer long. So we started just lighting each other up anywhere. Well, we rolled into like the Rite Aid.
Yeah.
Or the discount drug mart, and we saw Andy. Andy's walking across the street like, get him.
Yeah.
Top's back. The top's already down.
Yeah.
In the back seat, pop up, lighting them up with the airsoft gun. Rolling home, and all of a sudden we're like going down this 2-lane road into like old Pickerington.
Yeah.
That's where the high school was, and my dad lived back there, and it was like going through, and this dude, cops coming around the corner, and he's looking, and you see him be like, oh yeah, there he is. And dude pulls a little whoops, and like, so we went across the train tracks, kind of dipped into it. I was like, oh God, like, I know what this is. Yeah, we just got called in for the drive, So we dumped into like the neighborhoods, and I made it all the way through the neighborhoods back to the driveway, pulled in, closed the garage, watched them drive. They knew where I lived. Watched them driving by, just waiting on me to get there. They thought they beat me there.
Yeah.
They didn't. So like 2 weeks later goes by, and I had like a system in it, and so I'm like a 17-year-old kid, just bumping everywhere. Just to be a jerk. And so I'm doing it. I'm coming in the back way to the house, and this guy comes walking down this driveway with a 2x4 in his hand. He had enough of the music. So he's like standing.
He's going to turn off the music.
Yeah, he was going to go ahead and let me know how he felt about it. He's like one of those types. He had like the 350 dually, like the F-350 dually truck, but he lived in a little ranch house. So it's like, and he comes out, he's like literally my height.
Yeah.
About what I'll look like in 10 years, short and round. You're like, here comes this Napoleon dude. Yeah. Here we go, Yeah. So he's going to show me a lesson with his 2x4. So I was like, oh, skirt. Backed up, went around home the other way. So like a couple weeks later, we're coming in again. Dude was following us. He followed us in off the main road. Damn it. So I'm like, well, now he's going to know like where I live. So like, I can't go to the house. So we were airsofted in these houses that were being built. It's just a neighborhood. And so we pulled up in front of this house, and we were like about to go in and do a little airsoft tag in this house. Yeah. Idiots. And this dude pulls up behind and parks his car behind us. This is like a part of the neighborhood where like there's no one lives there yet. Yeah. They're just starting to build a house, and I'm like, oh no, it's that dude.
Yeah.
Damn it. And so we were like, all right. So we just kind of scurried along and went about life. And so he kind of kept following me. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna show you. I'm like, Pickerington police. I'm like, I'm like, this guy's like following me around in my neighborhood. Like the other day, like came out, like he was going to hit me with a 2x4. So like, oh, we'll be right out. Like an idiot, I had pulled back into my house, and I pull in the garage, and I called them. And so they pull up. The guy will be at the house shortly. Great. Thank you so much. I'm showing this guy.
Yeah. I got you.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Tough guy. So the cop comes out, and I come out the garage, open the garage door, come out the garage. Total idiot. So guy's super nice. He's like he's probably like 23-year-old cop. You know what I mean? Like, but in my head, he's like 40 because like I'm 17. I'm like, this guy is serious.
And he's a cop, so he's got to be old.
He'd probably have been out of BLET like a month. Like he's just a little baby, and he's like, so you called because a little situation? I'm like, yeah. So I like explained it all to him, and he's like, okay. He goes, well, Mr. Holcomb, I'll go over there. I'll have a talk with him.
Yeah.
And I'll knock on the door. I'll make sure to let him know that not to be following kids around and intimidating them and stuff like that. So I appreciate the call, and you have a good day. I was like, thank you. You too, officer. Great.
Yeah.
And this dude, I mean, plays me out so good because he turns, takes 2 steps down the driveway, and it's about enough time for me to turn around. And he goes, oh, sir, one more thing. And he goes, I'm like, yeah, I'm starting to calm down a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, that's good. It went well. And he goes, I said, yeah. He goes, maybe you own a BB gun? I said, airsoft. And he goes, yeah, we got the call a couple weeks ago. That was me that turned around. And he goes, I noticed you quickly made your way through downtown. And I said, He goes, let's not be doing that. He goes, I was like, all right. He goes, seriously, man. He goes, some old lady called and legit reported that there was a drive-by shooting at the drug mart. And I was like, and so I smiled and I looked down and I nodded and I was like, I got you. And he looked back, he kind of smiled and it was like, we thought it was funny too. Like, he didn't say it, but it was like, we thought it was funny too, but quit being an idiot, please.
One of my
I was like, I better chill.
is when teenagers think they've gotten away with something, and then they have that moment where they're like, where like they don't necessarily get in trouble, but they just get found out, and they're like, it's just that moment of like, oh, I thought I got
it's
away
the
with
same
it.
lesson, but they don't feel as burned.
Yeah,
totally. But we had it like I earned getting in that trouble. Like I should have got all the things that we used to like do so much terrible stuff. Like we were just driving around to his egg houses for no reason, like do stupid stuff. And it's like, why would we do that? I remember my buddy, like got me on that drug. He's like, it's so much fun.
On the internet back then.
Yeah, we didn't have it. You could literally go egg a person's house. Yeah. There's no camera footage. Like I remember my buddy. We're so terrible. But these buddies, like, they had this kid that they always like messed around with, and they're just mean to him all the time. Well, they watched him like walking home one day, and they picked him up to take him home just to find out where he lived, so then they could be even more mean to him. Like, y'all are terrible.
But that's like, you guys are terrible. The amount of times I have to tell teenagers nowadays, I'm telling you, like, we all did the same stuff, but now it's like documented. You cannot. Just don't do it. I'm not saying I haven't been there, but when I did it wasn't recorded. It wasn't documented. Yeah. Like, he
would go pull valve stems out of car tires, like in their driveway, and be like, "Gotcha." He'd be like, "You let it go a couple weeks," and be like, "Yeah, cool. Yeah, gotcha." Didn't I? But it was like you couldn't just go pull the camera off the top of the garage and be like, "Oh, Ryan Baker." Got you.
The camera footage that we have nowadays, like any camera footage that existed back then was so sketchy. It was like awful security camera footage, and it only existed at like high level places.
Yeah. We have like the Hubble now, like on our doorbells.
You want to you need to have Chuck on sometime and talk about if Chuck lived in the day and age of there was deep security footage. Oh god.
Yeah. I'm telling you, I've gotten into some. We did, like the things that you see people get in trouble for now, and they're like, and then they were not allowed to graduate, and they had to serve 90 days in like community jail. And you're like, oh my god, we did that.
I know, or you just go, oh gosh, I don't know what that's.
Terry, bad choices.
But it's that whole being aware of like other people see you, and now other people document it and record it, and that's what's wild. It's been a wild, like, seeing what's happened from donating a kidney and like the internet and reaching people who are like, I've had people reach out to me and be like, I once thought about that. What's that like? And it's like a friend of a friend of a friend on social media, and that kind of thing is so wild to me. Like the good, but then you have these people where like the fact that you can just record anything with your phone and like. I tell our teenagers all the time, like all of our EYC, our Episcopal youth kids, like just don't do stupid stuff. Just don't.
You will get
It's going to be recorded. They're going to know it's you. Yeah. It's, and that's.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Like, kids are no worse today than they were.
I know. They're all probably the same better stuff.
To be honest with you. Yeah. They're probably better behaved in public now. In all reality, like, and old people will be like, no, there's no way. But it's like, what were y'all doing? See you at the moon tower,
when you knew you could get away with stuff. Now it's like.
Well, just like how easy it was in the 70s to be like, oh yeah, my parents are going camping this weekend with the parents from across the court, and we got a keg coming, and there's no way anyone can catch us because they're so far away by the time They don't even have a phone.
Just, I never did
We might get in
anything
trouble,
like that,
but
ever,
we're not going to get caught in the moment. Like, that was the difference then. Now it's like your mom might show up while you're doing bad
There's
stuff.
more
Then it was like,
investigation that had to happen to get found out.
Which could be worse, because you could be then accused and convicted of much worse things. Now you can at least be like, no, Mom, look, I only had 6 beers. I literally, look, it's on video.
I know. Well,
That's terrible.
It's crazy. It's like you can't do. We were, some friends of mine had decided that they were going to flamingo our lawn, and after some other, but they had to like call my child, tell him to turn the camera off so that they knew that I would, like, if the front doorbell camera starts going off, that I'm going to see, you know, and so just all the stuff that has to happen to do like a genuinely like just good lighthearted prank. Like nobody can, you can't even do the good, genuine, fun stuff anymore.
You can't even roll up, throw a couple eggs and a couple toilet paper rolls. You know what I mean? Like,
I know. It's just.
Yeah, we used to do it like all the time, like every weekend. It was like, what are we gonna do? I remember one day I was like so addicted to it, like it was so much fun that me and my buddy Ryan Baker's the dude that gets me into all this terribleness. So he's like, I'll drive, you just ride passenger.
Yeah.
And so we're just like driving around, just like throwing one out the driver window, and the driver's like, hey, like we just did stupid stuff. And like one day it's like, well, let's just go get the stuff. We'll go later. Yeah. We went and got like our eggs and our toilet paper, and we're like, he's like, you just want to do like 3 real quick? Come on.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, yeah, why not? It's 6 o'clock. It's almost dark. It'll be good. There's no cameras on houses. They didn't even think about it. Like, I got a flip phone.
That didn't exist.
Hold on, let me check my text.
Yeah.
Yep, Dad hasn't even hit me up yet. I'm good. Click. And then so he starts rolling around. So we start going down this road. There's like a house, and as we're coming up to it, it's a driveway first, and then the porch.
Yeah.
Sheriff car. There's like a sheriff or a state trooper.
Yeah.
He's like, oh yeah. We're like, oh, we're getting them. So we roll up and we go by, and I go whoop, and it sailed over the back of the car and then landed on the driveway. I was like, oh shoot.
Yeah.
And as we rolled past the house, as you looked up onto the front step, guy's sitting there on the step in uniform, and I was like, Orion, we're screwed. He's like, nah, it's cool. We go around. He's like, we'll just duck out of the neighborhood. We go around, go down around the bend, and we turn. Dead end. New neighborhood. They hadn't built that street yet, so it's just a dead end into a cornfield. I was like, oh no, Ryan. We're going to go. Now we got to go back. Like he's sitting there just smiling in the middle of the street waiting on us to turn around because he knows the deal. And this dude in like his little Grand Prix, he drove through the whole cornfield in a little Pontiac Grand Prix. I was like, get the heck out of here.
I like that all your teenage stories involve being followed by a cop car.
Yeah, it happened all the time. But I never got arrested.
Yeah. But that's, back in the day you could get away with.
But now, that's what I mean though. But like now they would have definitely caught me. They did catch me one time, and this is the last one. It was, we were at a basketball game. We're jumping on this, we're all rowdy. It was pretty good. It was a girls' basketball team, and I had at the time been dating a girl on the basketball team, but she always rode the bench. So we were always joking with her about how she's a bench warmer. Yeah. And so when we were jumping on the stand, we're getting all rowdy in the student section, one of them came undone. And I was like, brilliant idea. I didn't do anything in school. Like I didn't party. Yeah. I didn't do any drinking. I did nothing. Yeah. I was hanging out with everyone, but I never did anything like that. So my judgment should have been clear.
Do we believe him?
I really didn't. Like I swear, everyone will testify. And then so we did everything. So we were like jumping and it breaks, and I was like, perfect.
It was divine intervention.
I was like, this is. It broke. They can't use it. Yeah. So I was like, I'll just take it home. Yeah. It's no big deal. They won't care. It's broken. I'll just put it in this coat, take it with me. Yeah. And then everyone in the student section and the team will all sign this piece of the bench. Yeah. And we'll give it to my girlfriend at the time and be like,
that is
like you thought it would be funny, right? Yeah. So the daggone cheerleading teacher, we didn't get along very well. Yeah. And she had gotten word about it. Yeah. Someone told on me. And
those tattletales.
Little rats. And so, someone had told on me, and she had tipped the guy off, and I knew he was following me, and I just you're all in at that. What are you going to turn around, walk back in with a coat and be
Yeah.
like, oh, hey, officer, I'm just bringing this broken piece of the chair back. So, yeah.
I was trying to fix it.
He was nice, though. He at least let me go all the way out the door and then was like, young man, go ahead and turn around. I was like, oh, you couldn't have got me in the door. And then he took me all the way and got me in the trouble. And I was like, oh, man. So that was the one time I got in trouble.
And
we had to pay it back.
Trying to do something, I would have been rooting for you.
So
you're like, but look how sweet this is.
This is how much of an idiot I am. So my dad finds out, and he's like doing the booster club. So like he's and he's always giving the athletic director a hard time.
Yeah,
you guys care about everything but wrestling. Well, then his son gets freaking caught. And who calls my dad but the athletic director and be like, your son, that shining star you tell us about all the time, your idiot son got caught stealing a freaking bleacher seat from Olentangy or whatever. Now, my dad was just livid. He goes, because like earlier that week, that athletic director wrote me a letter so that I could get a media pass to the state wrestling tournament so I could be on the floor. Like in the big stadium, I could have like an anywhere pass because I was on the yearbook squad. It's one of those free credits to keep me eligible.
Yeah.
And it's like 3 days later, I was like, Mr. Lair, will you please sign this for me? I know you and my dad don't get along, but like, he hooked me up, and he did. And then like 3 days later, I get in trouble. He's calling my dad. He's like, your idiot son down here. And so they made my dad like pay back the money to fix the chair, and like a complete fool. I look at my dad and he's telling me about it and how much it was, like $430 or something like that in 2006. And I was like, did they say we could come and pick up the broken one? Do we get to keep it at least since we're paying for it? And he was like, just go to your room, dude. Like, just go right up the damn steps. But I did like an idiot. I had all the audacity. I was legit. I looked right in the eyes after he's telling me how much he just had to pay to fix his problem. I got him in. I was like, they're going to let us keep it?
You're like, but it's
if my kid did that to me, I would come across the table at my kid. Like, I couldn't imagine that he didn't, like, his arm didn't even come up. I was impressed.
It took a lot of self-control. It's one of those things you realize as a parent now. You're like, oh my gosh. Like,
yeah. Can you imagine the tingling he felt in his hands?
Can you imagine? I think about, as a parent, the fact that I have all my kids on the Find My Friends, like I track my kids, I do, and I think it makes me feel better, and my kids are such good kids most of the time. But I think about back in the day, and I think about how many times, like, I was just unreachable to my mom, but that's how it was. Like, you just didn't.
As long as I'm outside, you can't call and look for me.
Yeah, and all of the times, I mean, I'm sure I was always exactly where I said I was going to be. I was always exactly where I said I was, Mom. Yeah. But, but it's Mom. It's one of those, like, you think about it now, and I mean, I guess it's good we can track our kids, but maybe.
Because then they want to track us back.
That's the messed
up part. They're like, no, actually, this is how you do it.
Do you ever get your kid that's asked you, like, have your kids ever asked you, like, why are you there? Or you went there and didn't get me, whatever?
No. Well, they can't see our stuff.
We share.
You're on the two-way street?
Yeah.
Everything's one way in our house still. The oldest is only 12. So.
Oh, well, just wait.
Yeah, I know, like, a month and a half, she'll be 13. She actually turns 13 on Friday, October 13th.
Oh, your golden birthday is on Friday the 13th.
October 13th. Even.
That's epic.
Yeah. I know when we were talking about this the other day, I was like, babe, remember like we were sitting there in the hospital and we had her, and I was so bored that I was like going through, like, because you just, what are you doing? And I was like 22, so I didn't even have like, I just worked some stupid bartending job. Like I wasn't doing anything.
Yeah.
And so I remember just sitting there and like going through the calendar and being like, hey, guess what? Her 7th birthday is on a Friday the 13th. Guess what? She turns 13 on Friday the 13th. And then I was like, she turns 18 on Friday the 13th too. And I was
That's
like,
terrifying.
How weird is it that your birthday's October 13th and your Friday birthdays are your 7th, your 13th, and your 18th? I mean, those are like wild. 7 and 13. What? Scary, freaky, weird. And then 18 is like, and then you're gone on a Friday the 13th, and now you can actually go to jail.
That's wild.
It's weird. But I also remember being like, babe, can you imagine us having a 13-year-old. Like, that's so far from now. I remember being like, I'm 22 now, and by the time she's 13, that'd be like as far away from now as like when I was 9.
Isn't that scary to think about?
And it's in 2 weeks.
Think about you when you were 13, and just it is a little terrifying to think about. And when you have a child that's an adult, and then I'm like, why are you? What is happening? And then you're still their parent, but they're an adult, but they're
they can like pick you up from places. Like, this is weird.
There is just wait. It's terrifying when they start driving, and then once they get good at driving, it becomes wonderful because then they can drive the other sibling around, and they can be your driver.
Right.
They have
if
that
you just
gap
get tired and you just don't feel like driving.
Yeah.
Right. Totally.
Well, you have the prime spot here. I don't feel like you ever have to drive anywhere really.
No. We drive to take the kids to school and back now, and then we drive to a Food Line.
Yeah.
And then occasionally I go to Lowe's and Walmart all the way out there.
All the way, to the Walmart side of town.
All the way to Walmart. Actually, Jock Pasley told me that when I moved here. He was like, you'll know when you've become one of us, or like when you're really here, when you say the phrase all the way to Walmart. And I remember being like, dude, it's 7 minutes short.
Yeah.
I'll never say that. I couldn't get from my house to halfway to Walmart in 7 minutes where I'm from.
Yeah.
And I said, I never say that. And then like about 8 months later, I was like, oh my gosh, I freaking forgot. I got to go to Walmart. I got to go all the way back out there. And I was like, no.
Or when you tell your kid, like, no, that's like, it's too late. It's all the way over there.
Yeah. And now it's like point. When I'm ready to pull my hair out completely, I just get in the truck and drive to the car wash.
Yeah.
I go through the car wash, come back. I'm usually over it.
Yeah. We had that moment. Somebody sent us when we moved here, knowing it was a small town, kind of teasing us about it. And they said, in a small town, there's always, like every small town, there's always the Walmart side of town and the other side of town. Mm-hmm. And I kind of laughed at that. And then I was like, I sent them back that same meme and I said, so this is factual. Yeah. There is I say, oh, that's on the Walmart side of town.
Yeah, to me, it's Plaza, Walmart.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all it exists to me.
I know, but you guys have the prime spot living right here.
Yeah, we kind of did that by design. We like to do that. We like to go out. It wasn't
by mine. It would have been like, oh, this is by accident.
Right. Well, yeah, it's when you know yourself. You know, I actually used to work with this guy back in Columbus. I worked at the Hyatt, like in downtown Columbus, at the bar, and this dude that we worked with was just like a self-proclaimed raging alcoholic. Yeah, and he's just like he's just crazy, dude. He's just off his rocker all the time. And so as we get to know him, like we play like video games with him and stuff. So like we would stay up all night and play video games and just like listen to how crap face Steve gets.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh my God, there he goes. Like, he's off the deep end now. So we did that for a long time with him. We'd play with him late at night, like 2, 3 in the morning. Because we get off work like 2.
Yeah.
And, you know, big city, close at 2, get home about 3. And you're wired. You drink like 4 Red Bulls. So you like stay up till 6 in the morning playing video games. And so we'd wait till Steve, you could tell when he'd black out. And then we'd order him a pizza. And we don't always put mushrooms on it because he hated mushrooms. And like the amount of times, like consecutive weeks, that this dude would get up, answer the door, and be like, no, I didn't order a pizza. Well, what's on it? He'd always tell the person he didn't order. And then as soon as the person was like, oh, okay, you didn't order, it was just a prank. And he'll be like, yeah, it's a prank. And as soon as the person was like, okay, and then he'd always go, well, what's on it? And then so there's like the driver started to think almost like, is this guy calling in?
Yeah.
Because they see him, like they're there. So they're like, he is so drunk. Maybe he just forgot that he called in. Like so they start thinking he's just hammered. Like
maybe he forgot he doesn't like mushrooms.
Yeah, maybe sober Steve hates mushrooms, but drunk Steve loves them. You know, so we did that. So this dude lived his whole life and basically patterned everything around protecting himself and his alcoholism, which is kind of admirable. But he realized, like, I'm such a mess drunk that I just don't own a car.
Yeah.
And just have an ID. I don't have a driver's license. So if I don't have a car, I won't be tempted to get into it.
Yeah.
If I don't have a license, I won't be tempted to drive yours.
Yeah.
And if I don't have a debit card or a credit card, I can't go to the bar and spend money I don't have.
Yeah.
So he's like 35, 40. And he's like, no car, just an
I
ID.
know myself.
And he's like, and he just rolls on cash. And we're like, Steve, like, get a card. So we're like, you can't buy like these map packs on Xbox unless you have a card. So he'd be like, he'd like give us cash and we'd go buy him like the Xbox
he's
points.
like a little kid.
Yes, and we're like, what the hell, Steve? Like, Steve, you're older than us. Like, and so eventually we're like, Steve, get a card. And then he was like, man, I knew I shouldn't have got that debit card. Now I go to the bar and I open a tab and I get home the next day and I'm like, $337. How did I spend that? And then I go back the next night and they're like, Steve, you bought 3 shots of Rumplemans for the whole bar. And he's like, ugh, if I just go with cash, I can only spend or waste what I make that day. He's like, so now I just do that. I was like, that's admirable.
When you look at somebody and you're like, gosh, your life. But then at some point you're like,
he's like, listen.
Well, but you know yourself. Like,
it's like, what's worse? You're still trying to be like, I'm just trying to pretend I have this perfect lifestyle and my kid likes soccer, you know? And he's like, I just don't have a car because I'm too much of a crap. I'm just shit-faced all the time.
I know. Sometimes I'm like, maybe there's more people in the world who could like live like Steve.
Yeah, he's got it all together now though. But it was just like one of those really.
Maybe that was his path to getting it all together. Think
so.
about if he hadn't had all that, where his life might be.
Yeah, you don't know until you experience. He used to always tell us, he'd be like, yeah, I can't wait till I get married someday. And we're like, why? He goes, because I'm not going to drink that day. And we were like, I was like,
that's the turning point?
Yeah, he was like, and we were like, well, why? Like, Steve, like, why? Why aren't you going to drink at your wedding? And he goes, because I just want to remember it.
You're like, okay.
That's the way it goes, man.
I guess there are people that probably could learn some self-awareness techniques.
It was interesting, like a 22-year-old kid, and I'm like,
yeah,
everyone teaches.
Yeah, you ever wonder like the places, like I think back now to where I learned some of the stuff that like has stuck with me for so long, and that's what's wild to me about youth group kids too, is I will have lessons that I've planned out and I know something always sticks with somebody, but I'm like, I don't know if these kids even heard me. And then there'll be times where I have youth group kids from years ago who will tell me something that I said to them that like was just when we were just talking on a drive, like on a mission trip drive or on something, or when we were just hanging out, like some kid told me something I told him during a game of Uno that we were playing, and like it has stuck with them. And or they saw me do something that wasn't even anything I recognized that I was doing, and it has stuck with them for so long.
That's cool.
And they're like, oh gosh, like that changed my life when you did this or you said this. And I'm like, I don't even know that I remember saying that. Like, I will believe you that I said that, but like...
You're like writing it down, like, I'm going to have to say that again.
Yeah, like,
that was really good. Yeah, thank you.
But that's what's wild, like, just where you learn stuff, you never know, you know? And you never know what somebody else is going to pick up from you. And, you know, you try, and gosh, you think about your own parents, think about the stuff you remember that probably was, like, the craziest stuff, or, like, some little thing that is stuck with you is like a core memory for the rest of your life. And then I always think about like our kids, we talk about like, what's like your core memories from it? And they'll bring up some obscure thing that's like so funny, or they just really loved that, you know, like was it's not always like the brightest parenting moment, you know?
Those are the best ones.
And then you're like, okay, you know, like what about all the times I tried really hard?
Yeah, you're like, that was an easy one.
Yeah.
Like that shot you made in that game, you're like, oh, that layup, that's no big deal.
Yeah.
That is hilarious. That's funny. What is this cops walk?
Oh, like all the stuff we've got going on. I'm trying to think, because I'm like working backwards from the end of the year. There's like, Chuck and I were talking about it today. I think there's stuff every weekend forever now.
Good.
So the second weekend in October, we're doing this thing. Barbara Crumbacker first came to me, and she's done Cops Walk for a number of years now. This year she'll be doing her 250th mile in Cops Walk. Oh, wow. And so it's for family members who are survivors of all different types of deaths in law enforcement. So people have been killed in the line of duty, and they also reach out to families who have people in law enforcement who have committed suicide, or just all different types of grief within that community. And so they hold this event once a year. They have 2 locations that they do it. We're doing the one in Harper's Ferry, and it's 25 miles over 2 days. And we raise money for the organization and just try to bring awareness in what we're doing for families. And Barbara actually is her father was shot in the line of duty.
Okay.
And was injured and ended up he ended up in the end dying from that injury. And so she is a big advocate for this program, and it's just been really neat to see some of this stuff through her. A lot of her family's in law enforcement, and
Gotcha.
she did EMS for a number of years. Her husband has done EMS for a number of years.
Gotcha. That's pretty cool.
And so this year will be the first year that her husband is walking. And so I think she first knew that telling us, did we want to, or me in particular, it's like 25 miles. You want to walk 25 miles? And I was like, sure.
Should be
like,
easy.
For a good cause.
You just dumped that kidney off like 2 weeks ago, so you should be lighter in the shoes.
I know. Like this was all in preparation for that.
Right. Yeah, it was because she said she could walk faster than you. So you're like, watch this. I'll just dump I'll dump a kidney.
Yeah.
Bring it on.
Any excess stuff I got going on.
Did you add a lung?
But it's 2 days, 25 miles, and it's a lot of fun. We're going to dress up because why miss an opportunity to dress up? Chuck and Richard may or may not have some costumes that have been bought for them that may involve tutus. And but it's all for the good of the cause.
That's right.
You know?
It's for raising awareness.
Yeah, and how else to raise awareness but draw attention to yourself and then say, "Hey, I'd like you to learn about this." So
2 A words. There's a reason. I'm excited for that.
Yeah. So on the 31st, so a week from today, from 4 to 9 over at King's, they're doing 10% of all sales in the dine-in area will go towards Cops Walk, and come eat. You know, y'all get the easy part. Come and eat.
Yeah.
And then.
What day of the week is it?
So it's a week from today. So it's a Thursday.
Very cool.
4 to 9 out at King's over by New Sport Shop. That's Highway 70, right?
Yeah, all the way down there.
All the way over there.
Someone asked me that the other day, like, why don't? Oh, it's Beer Barn. They're like, you can never go to Beer Barn.
That's
I was like,
all the way over there.
I said, I got to cross 70 and the river. That's like 2 rivers.
I know
that's a long way.
Yeah, that's
I'm
far
a walker.
away.
Yeah, I'm on the walk life. As soon as, telling you, if we get a little downtown grocery store,
I know
it's a wrap.
I used to
just a little one and charge a lot. 25
to 30 minutes from where I lived, and I would make that drive all the time. I would spend more time driving than I was there on occasion. And now I'm like, my oldest son works out at New Sport Shop, and I'm like, gosh, that's so far. Like, sorry I never come and see you at work. That's so far away.
Yeah, the one light right there is really long. I'm like that though. I've kind of just been like down to it.
So a week from today, venture all the way out to King's.
All the way to King's.
And
Thursday.
it can be like a family road trip. And you go all the way out to King's and have dinner.
We'll pack a cooler.
Get some food while you're there for the road trip back. You know?
Throw some extra hush puppies. Cup holders.
Yeah. So it's like a whole event.
Very cool. I like that. That's
fun. And it's been interesting that, you know, I think sometimes stuff happens in life and where 6 months ago I was not thrown into the world of law enforcement, and like I know about cops and firefighters and EMS, and they're all wonderful, but not in the way that I'm talking about, like survivors and Cops Walk and all this stuff. And we just did Battle of the Badges. You know, Chuck was there. Chuck was out there for like 24 hours over the course
Really?
of Saturday and
hot.
Sunday.
Yeah.
It was hot. I tried to be out there for a lot of it, but it was definitely hot. But it has been interesting to just be thrown in all of this, the world of law enforcement and firefighters and EMS. And I think we forget what an interesting job that is.
No
and
doubt.
like what a wild job that is.
No
Besides just chasing teenagers who are
Like
doing
egg bandits,
yeah.
yard forkers.
But it is wild to me, like some of the stuff that they see and some of the stuff that they have to do, and not even just the really awful hard stuff, but just the crazy stuff that they see.
Just every single day being nuts.
Yeah.
Or most of the time.
I just want to
You only go to calls where people are like, things are so crazy, you should probably come check it out. I mean, it's a special
when
type,
you hit the point where you're like, I need to call the cops. Like that's when things are crazy.
You're who shows up when people go, oh my God.
Yeah. So I definitely think I just want to listen when we were out at Battle of the Badges, just talking to different people. And I just want to listen to their stories. You need to do like a segment of like first responder stories. Just the crazy.
The wildest ones. Yeah, if you got like a good wild first responder person to put on here.
Yeah.
Definitely let me know.
And some of this stuff that, you know, you think I know they go through a lot of stuff that's really hard, and the stuff that they go to that just would tear me apart. Like I could never do some of that stuff. And, but we were talking about when you're in EMS, I think you just go into that, and probably as a cop and a firefighter too, you just go into that mode of like, you're just in go mode and you just fix the situation. And I think we all have some of that to some degree, but then to come out of that and like decompress from that.
I'm telling you. Yeah, the mental side of it is definitely, for me, I think it'd be more so the mental after the fact. Yeah. The laying down at night, going to sleep stuff.
Yeah. Do you sleep? I think you just don't sleep. If you do that, you just are like, you just are wired all the time. I think, because I don't
especially
know
if you're working weird shifts too.
Yeah.
You got to get up and like take the kids to school or something crazy. Like,
I know. Yeah.
Third shifter.
How do you then be a normal like parent? And how do you be, you know? I think, could you imagine if your dad was a cop?
No.
All the times you got followed around by the cops.
Yeah, he was already putting me under surveillance.
What if they just could call your dad and be like, it's your kid again?
Well, that was my mom.
Yeah.
She was killing me all the time. I remember, like, so I had moved out from my mom's house to live with my dad before my senior year at high school. It's like we kind of like got a little, kind of weren't getting along, and I was hardcore into wrestling, and that was what my dad did. Like, the whole basement was a wrestling gym, basically. And so, I like moved over to there and was doing that for a little bit, and but I still came back to hang out because right across the street from my mom's house was like a pretty good friend of mine. So we go over and play poker. We just hang out. And like an idiot, of course, I go over there one night hanging out. It's across the street from my mom's house. I leave, go down the end of the street. It's like 1.5 miles to my dad's house. Yeah. And of course, you know, I'm like, I got this little Civic still. And I like, it's a little manual, and I chirp the tires at like 11:55. Got to be home at 12. 11:57. I'm like, oh, gotta go. Squeal the tires, pulling out of the neighborhood, mom's neighborhood. I pull up to my house, and dad's sitting out front. I'm like, oh, he's usually passed out on the couch right now. Yeah. Usually some show's on, all the lights are off, and I'm going to walk in and hear, you know. No, he's sitting on the front porch like, this isn't good. Get out. Why did your mom just call me at 11:57? Mom, come on. Jeez, dude. Like, I know we're not getting along, but like, it was way down the street. Like, it's not like I did it in front of the house. Just like, golly. He's like, seriously, dude, can you stop? No. Can't. Love that thing. It's so stupid. So stupid.
This is why you have kids, though. You end up raising in some aspect, raise yourself. Right, you know. Yeah. And the
oldest is. She's got to come back for everything. I'm like.
I am raising myself, my teenage version of myself, and I'm like, there's sometimes where it gets me and it's like almost endearing because I'm like, oh, that's exactly what I would say, you know, and it's like so funny to me. And then there's other times where I have to like walk out of the room.
Yeah, you say the same thing.
Like, you were exactly me. And there's a reason they say opposites attract. I cannot live with myself.
Yeah, that's what we're experiencing right now for sure. The oldest is 100% me, and then just enough of Steph to drive her crazy. It's the youngest is still kind of sweet. We're getting to like the nose.
Yeah.
Or the.
Yeah. Oh, the
10,
noises.
10 and a half. Yeah.
And you don't have any boys.
No.
Oh, it's
just Jet.
It's a
black dog.
It's a
He's
different.
And Zeppelin. I got a bearded dragon.
I think there's like such a difference between a dad raising girls and a dad raising.
Well, I just
sons.
had a brother, so it was just like we were two boys.
Yeah.
Now I'm in this 2-girl situation.
You're outnumbered in the household.
It's unique, especially when like they'll all 3 push each other's buttons, and then they'll all 3 be mad at me, and just because like I'll have to say something stupid.
Yeah.
Like they'll be arguing about something, and I'll have to like slide in a joke.
Yeah.
And now they don't even remember that they're mad at each other. They're just like,
that
guy over there is a piece of crap.
Just wait. You will hit a point where they will all be old enough that all of their cycles will link up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the Power Rangers.
For cover. Yeah.
Telling you.
That's when you can go, I got to go all the way out to Beer Barn. I
think I'm going to go all the way over to King's for this fundraiser next Thursday.
I got to go.
You guys want me to bring anything back?
Over to Walmart.
Yeah, I'm going to go wash the truck. You just did that like lunch. I know. It's dinner time.
That's when the other side of town will seem very interesting.
Yep. Pollen got me again. I'm going to head out and take care of that. I actually saw that. This made me laugh today. I saw like the ice scraper and the brush.
Yeah.
And haven't seen that, so you probably don't even know what I'm talking about.
Well, I grew up in New York.
That's true. All right.
I remember back in the day, Phoenix, we didn't have them. But
Well, I jokingly saw someone the other day posted, and they're like, got my scraper ready for winter, and it was them joking about the heat.
Yeah.
But it had the brush on it. In my head, I was like, that brush would be great for the daggone pollen in the springtime. I never even thought about it.
All you have to do is just go buy some, knock the scraper part off, and just market them.
Yeah.
Upsell them as pollen dusters.
What we need is fuzzy windshield wipers. Just microfiber. That'd be hilarious.
That could be.
It's a whole new market.
Don't post that on here. Market it first, and then.
Welcome back. That wouldn't be the best idea given away. That's for sure.
Yeah. What can you 3D print microfiber cloth?
No, I was trying to think of another way we can do it, but
there's got to be a way.
I do like the brush idea though.
Yeah.
Because that was a hard lesson for me. I don't know about you, but first day of spring, I was like, oh man, it's so nice out. Got this truck, got these little visors for my windows, so I can crack the windows and come out and be nice and cool in here. And I come out and it's a tennis ball.
Yeah.
The inside.
I know.
I was like, are you kidding me, man? The whole dash is yellow. I was like, don't have that up north.
Yeah, I know.
At all.
It's wild when you go to different parts, just the things that people other places just don't understand.
Yes.
And you try to explain it and they're like, well, I get what you're saying to me, but then you live in that place and you're like, oh. People, it just gets me when people say, oh, well, you lived in Phoenix. Well, it's a dry heat. And I'm like, it is. Like, it's not humid there, but also like 115 degrees is 115 degrees. Like, if it's 100% humidity or 0, it's 115 degrees.
You still sweat.
Yeah, like it's still disgusting.
It's still horrible. Yeah.
Oh, but it's a dry heat. I'm like,
oh, you're used to the dry heat out there in the desert.
Yeah.
Not the rainforest. At least it rains here.
I know.
This is like the swamp. I
know. We get monsoon season out in Phoenix, so it rains really awfully for like a month, and then
nothing.
And then occasionally it'll when it drizzles out there, it drizzles to the point where like literally within 15, 20 minutes of a drizzle, you don't know that it is rain because it evaporates so quickly and the ground is so hot that you can't even tell. Yeah, it's a dry heat.
It's a dry heat, so it makes sense to me. Do you get the once every 3 year light dusting of snow in Phoenix, or is that only up north in Flagstaff?
So if you go up north, there's, you get snow up north, but then so you have the Phoenix area and like the northernest part of the Phoenix area, like where it just starts to go up. It had to be 2019 maybe. We got a dusting of snow like in that area, and it's so funny to me because people go nuts because it's like this. It snowed and like this area right here is technically Phoenix, and people just lost their mind. But then it's that same kind of thing when you're not used to a certain type of weather where people are physically unable to drive.
Yeah, it's like here.
When the weather
Snow
is
day.
Different from what they're used to.
Yes.
Yeah.
Snow day.
Yeah. It's
like the snow day.
Yeah.
Snow day 2022. Did you get your picture and put it on the fridge? And I'm like, I could call up home. I'm like, y'all, they're down here celebrating snow day.
Yeah.
Where they got a dusting, and by 10:30 in the morning, it was all just wet, and they all took off. And they took pictures. Everybody got up earlier than usual to go outside and take pictures. They're all dressed up in all this crap, and you can see the grass. And my parents are like, shut up. Like, are you serious? I'm like, I swear, dude. Like the whole town, snow day. Hashtag.
We lived in Raleigh the year that Raleigh got hit really bad with snow.
Was that when
when 10 years ago.
Photoshopped that image with the car sliding down the hill and catching on fire?
Yeah, like it had to be like 10 years ago, and it snowed really bad, and it was just insane to me. Where we lived, we came out of our apartment complex and like onto a somewhat major street, and there's people that are just like pulling their cars off and like, I'm just gonna leave my car here and walk to wherever. Like, it was taking people hours upon hours upon hours to get home places because there was snow. And like, we got hit with snow, and it was like a decent amount of snow. It was not a dusting. I get that. But like,
it's a whole 3 inches.
People, there was cars just parked on the sides of roads. People would pull off if there was multiple lanes, people would pull off to just the right lane, park their car, and it was faster than trying to drive with all the other crazy drivers. But also some of the people were like, I just don't know. It's like, I don't drive in this, You can.
Yeah, it's not that hard. When we lived up in Ohio, I had this guy, like this client in Savannah, Georgia, and he was telling me about how work was closed tomorrow because they were going to get some snow. And I was like, shut up, Larry. Like, are you kidding me, dude? And he goes, yeah, pretty sure I'm going to still make it in, though. And I was like, really? He goes, yeah, I've got a TRD off-road Tundra, so I've never used the 4-wheel drive in it, but I'm going to give it a shot tomorrow. Okay, Larry. Hang up. Call Larry the next day. I'm like, Larry, did you make it into work today? He's like, yeah, man, only 3 of us made it in, but, put the truck in 4-wheel drive. Really didn't have that much a problem. I said, well, that's good. He's like, yeah. So how much did you get? He's like, I think it was 3 inches. Which if the guy in Savannah is saying 3, it was a 1.5.
Yeah.
2. And it's probably like 57 degrees the day before. I was like, well, just so you know, man, like, we got like literally 4 inches last night on top of about, like, on the sidewalk, there's a good 8 to 12 inches of snow.
Yeah.
On the roads, it's just been pressed down to about 2 inches of ice and snow.
Yeah.
So that's what the roads are now. And he was like, oh, what do you guys do when that happens? I said, I've got a 2006 Prius, dude, and I'm at work.
Yeah,
like,
we drive.
I drove my little Prius with 12-inch wheels in 4 inches of snow and made it. And it's crazy, right?
Yeah.
He's like, how did you even do that? I'm like, dude, why don't you just take the Prius and send me the truck? Like,
I remember growing up in New York, and it was like, it had to be a legit blizzard.
Like a real, 10
to
plus.
shut stuff down. Yeah. And I mean, once you hit, I remember being hot in Phoenix in March and thinking about the fact that my birthday's in March, and there would be blizzard. like I had years where I couldn't have my birthday party because a
Yeah.
blizzard would shut down my birthday party. And
Yep.
here I'm in Phoenix, hot.
You're like sweating. I
Like-
don't want to go out today. It's too hot on my birthday. When's your birthday in March?
March 14th.
Oh, I'm the 11th. Nice.
Oh.
Yeah.
And you should check as a Christmas baby.
Like on Christmas?
Yeah.
Legit Christmas?
Yeah.
That sucks for you, dude.
I know.
Talk about getting screwed your whole life on
I know.
gifts.
Every time we talk about birthdays, I'm like, he's a Christmas baby.
Uh-huh.
I know. That is the word. And
My aunt's the day after Christmas. So.
you can't have, as a kid, you can't have a birthday party.
No.
You just,
No, what are you
you're
going
just
to do?
out of luck. You are forever the person that gets a Christmas/birthday gift.
I just got you the combo with
Yeah.
there, little Johnny, and you're
While
like,
your
no.
siblings are off getting like
Yeah.
a Christmas gift and a birthday gift.
Well, they get to
and-
take a trip for their birthday, you know, and
Yeah.
you're like, I can't even hang out with my friends. on
Yeah.
my birthday.
I can't even have a birthday party.
Yeah.
He used to do his half birthday party
Of course
because
he
it was
would.
summer.
Of course he would.
Because that way you could like
Is that
have
June
a
or
summer.
July?
It
June?
would be June.
June 20. Yeah, June.
What's half of 12?
Well, they say Christmas in July, so I didn't know if he played off of
I
that.
know.
Maybe he does both. He's like June 25th, July 25th, and December 25th. Just
Wait.
hook me up with gifts.
I just do youth ministries. I don't do math.
Yeah. Well, so Chuck, if you're paying attention, you're still here. If you would move from the June 25th birthday celebration to July 25th, you would be Christmas in July, and
Yeah.
you would also have the ability to go ahead and plug all those gifts into Prime Day, which is usually like the 12th through the 14th.
That's
Why not have your birthday after Prime Day, not before?
put an Amazon wish list together.
Yeah.
So basically,
Yeah,
at this point, Chuck has to have a Christmas in July birthday this upcoming year.
it's the best way to do
At this point, you have to. And I'm trying to think, well, no, it won't be a big.
it. Call it Chuck missing July.
All right, we planned your birthday. If you'd like for it to be a surprise, pretend you didn't hear this.
It's a
But
surprise.
otherwise,
It's all right. He's in the
get a
CIA.
wish list together.
He works for the CIA, so he already knows about this conversation. Your phone's bugged anyway. That is too funny. Well, cool. Well, I appreciate you coming on and hanging out for a little bit.
Thank you.
Welcome to season 2.
Yes.
Big premiere. You didn't even know.
I know.
Snuck it on you.
I didn't even know. And I will say that the next episode, your future guests have a lot to. I mean, what organ are they going to have donated?
That's what I'm saying. The bar is pretty high.
Yeah.
So if maybe you've given up anything as meaningful as a kidney,
Yeah.
hit me up and we'll see if we can fit you on. But
Yeah. I
yeah,
mean,
pretty high up.
yeah. Let's see.
I
Let's
know.
see what people come up
I'm
with.
shooting for the stars on this season.
We
I'm
got-
not playing around.
You could also bring on. We've got some organ hoarders,
Ooh.
so who have decided that they don't want to give up. So you could have the opposing team on
Anti
too. Organ hoarders, the Organ Hoarders Club.
organ hoarders. Is that it sounds like a Facebook group.
So I'm excited now to
On the
see
dark
who you
web.
have, yeah, to see who you have on next now.
Yeah, I think I got a good one next time. My next one, I think, is Bob Garrett.
Oh, okay.
So works out, owns a gym, and he day trades gold. He's always shorting gold on Facebook at like 4 a.m. I like wake up in the middle of the night and I'm like, man, Bob just made another trade. It's like 2:37. He's like off to watch Suits, fix some chicken rice, and I'm like, yeah, dude, okay. See, I think he's my next one. After that, I don't really
I need
know.
to hear about his sleep schedule.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazier than mine for sure. I kind of do the 2 hours, 3 hours on thing. I do a lot of that and napping.
Yeah. Well, that's what you can talk about: sleep schedules and what organ.
Oh, and I have a I haven't reached out to him yet, but I have like it's a sleep. I don't know what the correct term is, but it's like a sleep therapist guy.
sleep therapist.
I don't know if that's the correct term.
Do you do therapy while you're sleeping, or?
I don't know, but he was like, we're gonna talk about like getting proper rest and stuff like that.
From the guy who just said
No, it's
I
a different dude.
I get rest in chunks of 2 and 3 hours.
No, that's me personally.
Yeah.
That's Zach. Bob Garrett is the lifting dude that day trades and doesn't sleep and watches
Okay.
Suits. And then the third person I'm talking about
Okay.
is
Can they all be one person?
probably. I'm sure we can make that happen.
But
That's episode
I
5.
am excited to hear about the somebody's going to probably tell all of us that we do sleep wrong.
Yeah, maybe for that episode, I'll lay on the couch and have him sit next to me, and I'll try and see if he can put me to sleep,
That's probably
like as a part of the thing, not like because what he was saying would be boring.
Yeah.
I kind of said that was like that sounded kind of rude, but that's not what I meant. But like if he could trick me into falling asleep, like little like mind trick, that would be cool.
Yeah.
and I sit up.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm excited. I'll try anything except for needles. I don't like needles in the hospital.
And now you have to have an episode where you see if there's somebody who is boring enough to just put you to sleep. It could be like a contest thing.
This isn't very rude. But there's been one or two where I've been like,
yeah.
I don't know who's going to watch this because I'm not even watching it and I'm sitting here live right now.
Now
I have had one or two of those.
Now
but usually they're pretty good.
It's like, don't post it because that would be not nice. But DM Zac your guess as to which episode it was. Don't comment it, but just...
Unless you're going to guess Grant, then that's okay. You can say that the Grant episode was a snoozer. But all we did, me and Grant, was we took one of Barstool Sports like brackets of like most popular people or something. We worked our way through. We discussed it. It was during like bracketology, like during March.
Oh,
instead of doing
might already be my guess.
Bracket,
I haven't watched that episode.
It's horrible, but you got to check it out. It's pretty good. It is. It's so bad. It's good. Actually, what was funny was we recorded it and we put it out because I was like, let's just try it. It's fun, something different. Let's just do it. And then we put it out and it got like 28 views. And I was like, that was a turd. I was like, hey, congrats. You and me, worst episode. It's like episode 25.
Well, up the views, it can be that when you just need like noise in the background to do stuff.
Yeah, just play it on loop for me. That'd be great.
Yeah, well, just that can be the episode that you click on.
But we did that, and I think like maybe 3 or 4 weeks went by, and then like Keith Goyette came in, and he was like, hey, I saw that episode with your brother. That was awesome. By far the best episode. And I was like, you're the only dude that watched that one. Yeah, he's like, that was the best one. I really enjoyed it. Like the back and forth and the who's more popular and why. Like that was really good stuff. And I was like, cool, we'll have to do another one. Just send it to Keith.
Yeah, you can do special episodes just for him.
Well, I'm gonna bring Keith back on. We're gonna do a bracket of best WWF wrestlers.
That's watchable.
Do you have a favorite wrestler?
I'm like an old school. Like I don't necessarily know current.
I don't mess with the current either. Yeah. I drop off at The Rock.
Like I mean, I think the Rock is like a different being now than he was. But like
Dwayne.
Randy Savage.
Macho Man Randy Savage was the best.
I mean, and had the best, like,
promos,
the voice, and the, and
Miss
then when
Elizabeth.
he started doing the Snap into a Slim Jim ads.
Still, top. I mean, you can't say Slim Jim without going, Snap into a Slim Jim. Can't do it.
And then I feel like Hulk Hogan is just classic. Like, even if you don't know wrestling,
right.
I feel like you know Hulk Hogan, and not in the way that people know The Rock. Like, they know Hulk Hogan as a wrestler.
Not as this everything guy.
Yeah.
Well, he never really changed that. Yeah.
My shining moment as, like, a young teen when my family was road tripping through Ohio, because Ohio has all of the amusement parks. Oddly.
Everything.
So we were road tripping through Ohio and we went to a Cracker Barrel, and my aunt, who you would never guess when you met her, was very into wrestling and stuff, but you would have never guessed it. She's like also not the most outgoing person. And she was like, you have to go over there. You have to go over there. You have to get his autograph. It's Stone Cold Steve Austin. You have to go over there. You have to go over there. And that was like her dream come true. We didn't have to go to any amusement parks after that.
It was done.
That
just turned
was
around
like
and came back.
The trip was done at that point. But I feel like that was a different era of wrestling. Like it was when it was definitely
that was Attitude Era for
like
sure.
Fake, and it was like so obviously fake that it was so good.
Oh, so the cameras got better.
Yeah.
That's why like wrestling in the 80s did so well.
Yeah.
And they were able to fudge it for so long. It's like you're watching on like this little like box thing at grandma's house. And like, wow, I'm pretty sure he hit him.
Yeah.
He's bleeding.
And it was people unlike The Rock who were like not going to go off to their thing was
wrestling. The bodybuilder circus is what I call it. Like, it's a circus for bodybuilders.
That's actually a genius episode.
Yeah, and we'll do it.
Is this like Keith Goyette's thing?
So me and Keith, I would say not to like put him on blast or like to brag to all of you about my really cool best friend, but like, we probably
don't mess with Zac.
We probably
his best friend.
No, not like that, but I would say legitimately once to twice a week we exchange some old school wrestling gif or like some so like I get it all on my Facebook feed now, like all these funny wrestling stories and things from back in the day where so and so's talking about so and so. So Keith's a big Ultimate Warrior is his dude. Yeah. And I'm like, Ultimate Warrior. I could live with him, live without him. Yeah. I got Hulk and Macho Man. Yeah, like, I like Hulk Hogan and Macho Man. He likes Ultimate Warrior. So, that's kind of our thing.
Who would win? Yeah. Like.
Well, what's cool is, Ultimate Warrior kind of partnered up both with Hulk and with Macho. So.
That's pretty. I feel like we need more bracket stuff like that.
I'll just start pulling random ones out on people.
Yeah, like
hey,
WWF.
You can choose this, or this, and then we just break them down.
That'd be cool. You gotta do. We've done like old school youth ministry style. We've done brackets for the Little Debbie snack cakes. So you pair off all the different Little Debbie snack cakes, and you have to have your ultimate winner. Yep.
Like how you threw an ultimate there.
Yeah.
Like you're a closet warrior fan.
No, never.
If I had known this would have been the first 48 minutes. Because what's funny is I can almost ask every person that's come on. That's like the weird off the cuff question is like, so like WWF, like who's your guy or girl? No one's had a girl yet, but it's always been, and they'll always be like, ooh, and you always get a really good deep explanation. And then you find out that like no one tells you they watch wrestling.
Yeah.
And no one maybe watches it anymore, but we all watched it.
Yeah.
And we all were like, and then you like get to school and you're like, I didn't watch it.
Never watched an episode of Like you just can't.
I've never been to one in person.
You. Yeah.
But anywho, there you go. Didn't know that. See, everyone's got their own wrestler. It's proof.
Yeah. So,
which amusement park were you headed to though in Ohio? Kings Island.
Yeah.
That's the one.
And we did the whole like they have the Music Hall of Fame there.
Yeah, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
The Rock and Roll Hall of
Fame.
Or
Akron.
Yeah. And then there was a couple other things that we did, but
Football Hall of Fame.
Yeah, and it was just this random,
little Ohio
family
trip.
Vacation.
There's a lot to do in Ohio, actually. Weirdly enough,
Ohio has always seemed like Ohio, and then I'm like, okay, well they've accumulated all the amusement parks and Hall of Fame spots.
You know why? Is engineers. You know which state? I think this may not be still true, but like of all of the states, I think Ohio may have more higher education institutions than any other state, like colleges and universities. They're just crazy about them. They just love having, like in the 1800s, they just went crazy. And they were like,
get all the smart people.
And they did. They just started building colleges everywhere. And there's a ton of like little mom and pop colleges all over the place. And they're like, some of them are kind of scammy, but most of them have like been around for like 100 and something years. You're like, dang. But yeah, I don't know. Somebody told me that when I was in high school, and I was like, ooh, try not to go to any of them. Just be done right here.
That sounds fun.
But yeah, it was the engineers actually, so that's how they ended up getting them. And then you had Cedar Point and Kings Island, and they started competing against each other. And then they ended up buying each other, so then they're owned by the same company now.
Yeah.
And the Japanese started really pushing them on the height of the roller coasters.
I can't. I get bullied into it by my teens sometimes, but
well, don't go right now. You got this extra space for your stomach to flip.
I know. I get bullied. You have to do for like street cred as a youth minister. You kind of have to. You have to go on like at least one. We did that at Magic Mountain. We took kids on a mission trip to LA, and we went to Magic Mountain as our like fun day thing. And one of the women that I was there with were like, well, we'll just pick whichever one has the shortest line, and we'll do that one, and then we can be like, look, guys, we did one of the roller coasters, and
taking a break,
and we were like, oh, they have now where it's got the time posted of like the approximate wait time. Yeah. We're like, oh, this one only has like 15 minutes, and we get all the way to the front, and I'm like, why was that our method of picking which roller coaster we should go on? It's one of the ones where you're strapped in and you're going backwards, and there's like loops, and then you hit a point where you go all the way up, and then you just drop and stuff. Yeah. And we got off of it, and I'm like, oh gosh,
That's why the line was short.
yeah. But are you an old school wooden, creaky, scary, like it might collapse, or like new, totally crazy?
I like the
roller
ones
coaster?
where you're on like the metal bars and you're hanging down below them.
Oh gosh.
Like where it's just you're on the rollers.
We might just drop at any point.
Yeah, because I don't want to I don't want to be a part of like the train crash.
You just want to fall from
I don't
the
want to
sky.
I don't want to be squished by the roller coaster. I gotta just fall and land and be like 3 times and then black out and just end it. That's better for me. But coming from Kings Island, we had season passes one summer when I was like growing up and stuff. And my mom rode the Beast when I was.
Oh.
She didn't know she was pregnant, and so I got to ride the Beast. Passenger.
So she
kind of got me
started
scared
this
that
whole
way.
thing.
So I actually didn't ride any roller coasters at all until like, I don't know. I was probably like 12 or 13 the summer that we had that pass. And I'd go ride the Beastie, the little tiny roller coaster in Kittyland or Hanna-Barbera Land or whatever the hell it was. And I would never ride roller coasters. So we had that whole summer, I think, maybe. Then we go to Florida. And like in Kissimmee, I don't know if you've been down there by like Disney World. There's this place called Old Town.
Yeah.
And they've got like the human slingshot.
Yeah.
So all week, I'm like the oldest of, 3 or 4 kids, and I'm like, "You guys get on the slingshot with me, ride the slingshot, right?" So you go, "No, we're not doing that. It's too scary." Chicken.
Yeah, that's your way of like.
Yeah.
Well, I would have gone. If
I
you
would
weren't
ride,
with
but I'm
me.
not doing it alone.
Yeah.
You big wimps. And then the last like Friday of vacation, we were there, and my stepdad was drinking beer all day. Like 8:40, he's like, "Let's go." The big chicken, and I was like, "No."
Of course, I'm not a chicken.
But you can't be like,
Yeah.
He played me out all week, man, and then he
Yeah.
got me on that sucker. And I didn't ride roller coaster or anything. I was terrified of all things. But at that point, I had written so many checks with my mouth. I was like, well, guess I'm getting on. So we get on. I'm terrified. Lean you back. We go up, come down. That was cool. They're like, how was it? I'm like, great. It wasn't bad. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Still kind of terrified. Did it, though.
Yeah.
We land, they put us on the magnet, start going like this. And the guy goes, no. I said, what? I said, we're good, dude. We already went. It's a different guy. He goes, yeah. He goes, they just went ahead and paid for you to go again. So just stay strapped up, big dog. And I was like, look at my son. I was like, no. And he's like, yes. I was like, oh my God. And then the second time I loved it. And then every time I went back, I rode the thing like 2 times. But like after
You
that,
gotta get over the initial fear.
after that, it was like, put me on every roller coaster in the front or like in the back or like, and then I became just like a junkie.
Chuck will do all the roller coasters with you.
Perfect.
That's not.
I don't know if Steph's like big on them or not. I don't know if we've ever really gone. I don't know if we've rode roller coasters together.
We've never gone to any of those places together.
Yeah, I
but
don't know if we have either.
he's a big.
That's what we should do. Just the 4 of us go to
Yeah.
Kings
And you
Island.
get it, and you get a video of the whole thing.
Yeah. Okay, so we still have that.
I wish that we had, because then there's the difference between roller coasters and then the really sketchy, not state fair but county fair, like rides.
Yes.
That you're pretty sure people have died on, and they just
You can see the blood
Yeah,
crusted on the middle.
And last year, the fair here, we took some other kids with us, and one of the little kids that we took, he was like, I want to ride all the rides, and I want to go in the big, and that every fair has the big pirate ship that goes like really high up and swings like you feel like you're gonna flip over on it. And he was like, I want to ride this. And he's like just tall enough. And so we're like, okay, let's get on. And I get on with him. And he's super excited. And they go like a few times. And it's not that bad. And he's like, this is so fun. And then we go like just a little too high. And he's like, and he starts sliding down into the seat. But I'm like, he's so little. Like if he slides down into the seat, he's just going to slide right on out of the thing. So I've like death gripped him, and I was trying to video up until that point. Now I've like death gripped him to not like, your parents are not even here. I cannot tell them that we went on one ride. And I lost you at that point. And so he gets up and he's like, I don't think I want to go on any more rides. I don't want to go on any more rides. Well, he ended up doing the, whatever it is, like the Gravitron one. He loved that.
Yeah. Is it the spin one where you go up the wall?
Yeah.
Yeah,
He
I like
loved that one. He did find some ones that he liked, but we realized the year before that, he wasn't tall enough to ride any of those rides. So his mom had not warned me about, and she goes, I didn't even think about the fact that he was going to be tall enough now to ride those. And so she's like, yeah, I had no idea. And so she goes, I am really sorry. She goes, I would have warned you. She goes, I didn't know if he liked those or not. He's just now tall enough. And I go, it should have tipped me off that he was like just barely tall enough to ride it. Yeah. But I feel like that's a totally different vibe because we've got this county fair and the state fair coming up, and those are all the like really sketchy.
They had an accident at the Ohio State Fair within the last 5 or 6 years.
Yeah,
where didn't go so well.
And that's like, don't even get me started. That's a whole.
That's crazy.
I'm interested in that whole way of life, just people that like that's what they do.
Carny culture.
Yeah, like that's
interesting.
a whole subculture that I know nothing about, but I'm so fascinated by.
Yeah, tent life.
Yeah.
It just makes me think of like the movie Dumbo.
Yeah.
How they roll in on the train and throw the whole thing up while they're singing the song before the rain comes.
I'm sure that's exactly what it's like too. They sing and they...
It's always about to rain.
Yeah.
Dumbo's freaking out, running around, tripping over his ears. I haven't seen that in a while. I'll have to check that out. Yeah.
It's depressing as an adult. It's like a rather depressing movie as an adult.
I just
don't rewatch it.
I won't. I really don't watch a lot of TV or movies in general. Documentaries. You got to check out the biography series on the WWF wrestlers.
Yeah,
there's like 6 seasons.
Documentaries, biographies, stuff like that. I'm like addicted to, and there's certain shows that I'll watch, but I literally try not to rewatch some of the stuff from my childhood because like you rewatch it and you're like,
that was different.
This is terrible. Like what was I thinking? I like to just let it be as something wonderful in my head from my childhood.
Yeah, you go pick up all the things that they put in it for your parents that you never noticed.
Yeah.
And you're like, whoa. That's way different.
Have you ever seen Shrek?
Yeah. Oh, dude, all of them. All the movies have. I mean, I've got my own album versions for songs that are just like old school normal songs that are probably what was on the album, but then they had to make the radio edit.
Yeah.
That's a game we like to play.
Well, have you seen, like, I watch on TikTok and other stuff where they have, like, it's, like, just a regular song from when we were kids, and then, but it's, like, as an adult, when you start really listening to the lyrics. Oh, and I'm like, I say that the stuff that my kids listen to is awful, but then I listen to that stuff, and I'm like, this is terrible. Like,
you're like blushing.
I listened to this.
Yeah, like, you had the CD and it's making you blush. Yeah. Well, that's you have to watch the WWF biography for like Macho Man.
Yeah.
Because it makes you realize like what a horrible person he was to like Miss Elizabeth.
Oh yeah.
He was crazy. He actually was like really possessive and nuts and stuff.
Yeah.
So like we were watching it. Like Steph's she doesn't really care, but she's watching it.
Yeah.
She's like, I don't understand why you care about this. It's so stupid. I'm like, I know, it's just so dumb. I like it. And because I'm watching, I'm like, oh my God, I remember that. Yeah. I never thought that I would remember that. And so we were watching that, and we get like about 38 minutes in, from like 38 to 41, they touch on like how horrible of like a mean person he was, and like he's a horrible womanizer, and he like was all controlling and crazy, and it makes you feel like such a horrible person for even watching the first 38 minutes.
Yeah.
You're like, I just kind of watched this to celebrate this person's life, and then you spend 3 minutes telling me how big of a piece of crap he was. And then they're like, and they roll back out of it and tune it back up, and you're like, I can't even get happy about this guy anymore. Like, golly, you made me. I just told someone 3 days ago I kind of liked Randy Savage, and now I kind of feel like I need to go back. And like, I'm sorry, I really didn't know about all that other stuff. I was 4.
Take that back.
I was 4 watching reruns. I didn't know he was really a jerk. Like, jeez.
I have found it when you like. I feel like any church has some sort of room or closet that has like all the old like books, curriculum books, and all sorts of stuff like that. And you find the old youth group stuff, like games for youth groups or just all sorts of youth group and children's stuff. And we just found some that was published in like the 80s and stuff. And I'm looking at it going, what creep, like the back rub game and the stuff that I'm like reading some of this stuff going, this is so inappropriate and just so wild to me, like that this was at some point an appropriate thing to publish that you should do with teenagers of like just during a lock-in where you're all together and we're gonna do an icebreaker called the back rub game. And like,
it's preparing them for college though, you know?
Yeah. It's just wild to me though, like how do you and then you think about stuff now that was okay in like the 80s and 90s and stuff and the early 2000s where you're like, that was just a socially appropriate thing. And now I think, like, it makes me feel icky now thinking about how certain things were just socially appropriate to do and say and be. And
and it's like it wasn't really that much time that went by. And it's like stuff that I would say every single day in practice would get me expelled from high school now. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, it was bad then, too, because, like, I remember my dad being like, hey, got another call today. Quit dropping F-bombs at the freshmen.
Yeah.
Like, they're upset because there's 14-year-old kids in the wrestling room.
Yeah.
And you're running around because you're in really good shape. And you're serious about this. You're every time you lap them, you don't need to push them in the back.
Yeah.
And call them a name.
Yeah.
Expletive. And I was like, but they just need to run faster.
Yeah.
Like, there's no reason, Dad, I should be
I'm
lapping.
doing this to help them.
Dad,
you know?
why? I'm on a 1/10 of a mile track. How do I lap Mac 9 times in 22 minutes? He's not a heavyweight. He's a 112 pounder. Zach, stop.
Yeah.
Dad, he's like, stop. You can't do that.
I could go back
He's
now
14.
to like me as a teenager, like one of my really good friends, we met because she sat in front of me at some school assembly and I was an obnoxious teenage girl and she sat in front of me and I was like, can you please stop flipping your hair? Like, it is disgusting. You know, and just as obnoxiously as possible. And why that bothered me, why I felt the need to say that in that way. Like, it wasn't even near me. It was just, I could see it happening, you know? And like, me now goes like, first of all, why did that even bother you? Yeah, and why did you feel the need to be so obnoxious about it? And we became friends that year during school and we laugh about it now, but it's one of those things where you're just like, why was I that human? Why was that me? You know? And if we could go back and apologize for all this stuff that creeps us out now, like if I met myself now, if I met my teenage self, I would hate my teenage self.
I remember being like rolling through about May of my senior year and just being like such a mean person. And then someone turned around and being like, I don't know why you're being such a jerk to everyone. And I just remember being like, because I'm never going to see your ass again. And then after 40 more days, it's over, man. I'll never see you again. So you know what? I think you're this. And I was like, why did I do that? Like, what was the point of it?
Yeah.
Like, and how did no one like just beat the snot out of me for some of the stuff I said? But it's like,
but then do you ever wonder as an adult, there's times though where I'm like, if I could just be my teenage self right now. Yeah. And like,
I'm kind of vibing. I quit egging cars, but like, I'm still, you know.
Like, if I could care, you just want to care about everyone and everything, and that's how society thrives and all of that. And then there's just times though where I'm like, but I need other people to care, and if nobody else is gonna care,
why am I the only one playing by these rules?
I don't want to care, like, you know. But if only my teenage self could be that petty. But you know, but like a little part of you wants to be like, where's my teenage self right now?
Why can't I just see the positive in them?
Yeah, you know.
I like that too. Terrible. Becoming much more hardened.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think I'm like 35 now, so I'm kind of also in that thing where I'm like,
all right, like I'm very giving with my time and stuff on a lot of things, but it's like, all right, I'm starting to not run out of time, but like,
Yeah.
I need to like start charging for certain things that I used to do for free because they were fun to me, or like, I'm going to learn a lot doing this. Well, Zach, it's like the 7th time that you've done that at a professional setting, and you're not really learning anymore. Like,
Yeah.
and so it's hard for me to be like, I really want to help you, but at a certain point, there's got to be an exchange of something. I struggle with that.
I think there is a balance between like doing something out of the goodness of your heart, and then there's the I think every week I think about like wrestle with like, but money's not even real, and it's just this system we've created, and it means nothing.
True.
You know, and like and I get wrapped up in that of like, but if we just erased government and money and all of that, and we could all just live off the land, you know, and then you go, okay, but that's not possible right now. And like, you know, and so it's that back and forth between like, you have to live in what is right now, which means you have to be able to survive and take care of your family. And I think as like a parent, you think about the fact that like I have to take care of my kids and balance like giving them not everything they want, but things that they want and all of that stuff, and be a good person and but not get taken advantage of and not feel like you're getting taken advantage of, you know. And so it does, sometimes I feel like I move through the whole cycle in a day of the, you know, okay, well, I'm just going to do this out of the goodness of my heart, and also I need to make money to survive. And also, I hate money, and we should just do away with it and just give each other things and trade and barter. And then, but that would be awful too. And then, you know, and it's this constant
so you can
cycle.
horse trade on a lot of, I was actually thinking about that a minute, like driving back into town, and I was like, man, like the folks that have figured out, like really the real trick in life is like figuring out how to horse trade as much things as possible.
Yeah.
And then, or as many things as possible. And then, sorry, I've been living here for 4 years now. My grammar's gone down, admittedly. I was talking to my dad the other day, and he was like, what did you say? And I said it again, and then I stopped and said it the proper way. And I was like, I'm really sorry about that. Some kind of like the grammar czar up there. But anywho, yeah, I don't even know where I was going with it. It's not that important because the grammar really matters.
It's so what we've learned is money and being nice to people and all of that. If you don't have good grammar, it doesn't matter.
None of it really matters. Yeah. How can you focus on anything if you're dropping double negatives? One the other day that got me really good was saying they are and then in the same sentence they said they referred to that same entity as you. So it's like they're here and we're happy you're here. And I was like,
bothers your brain.
I hated English and didn't go to college.
Yeah.
And never paid attention to it at all. But like, I'm pretty sure you can't write a sentence and refer to you as her and you in the same sentence. I can't be like
your
and the theirs.
there.
So
there.
This is funny. When I was in 3rd grade, we had this whole thing all year long where it was about finding the words that sound the same but are spelled differently.
Yeah.
Or are spelled the same but sound differently and have different meanings. It was like a whole thing, the whole part of the thing. And you get excited. Maybe you find like a new word and you bring it in and you put it up on the wall. You get to do these 2 little things, and it was fun. And I remembered thinking like, this is the stupidest. Like, if you don't know the difference between they, there, and there, you're a damn idiot. Like I just remember like being in 3rd grade and being like, it's not hard. It's this or it's this or it's this. It's very simple. And then like to this like, especially living here. Oh my gosh. And it's like, what do you mean you don't? How do you get that? And sometimes it's like people where they're like, you actually, like for a while, you're like, yeah, they're different. And then you see them do it and you're like, what? Like, I think my friend Heath dropped one the other day. It was like the wrong there. And I was like, oh, come on, Heath. Like, really, dude? Like, come on, man.
Well, I think you have really to, funny. Like, you have.
It's just different
It's like
stuff.
the people that I know, or that I know care about it, and then I catch them and I'm like, oh, you did it. And then there's people that I think what gets me is when it's a situation where I'm like, maybe this is a teachable moment. Maybe you genuinely don't know, and this is about anything, not just there, and there, or like, this is a teachable moment, and we're going down another rabbit hole that I feel like all teachable moments should be received well. We all have teachable moments, and just receive teachable moments better.
It's not
people.
Being mean. I know, it's like, I understand how sometimes when I say things, people can automatically be like, he's being facetious.
Yeah.
Or they'll have like some other explanation for that term for what I'm doing. And I'm like, I understand that, yeah, I did say it with a smirk. And usually I would be that way sometimes. But like, no, I really was just genuinely trying to help. But I find myself constantly saying like, I hit someone up the other day about something, and I was like, hey, I just noticed this. And, if you want help with it, let me know. But like, I just noticed it, figured I would share. And it kind of like was initially met with a little bit of a defensive, like, well, this, and this, is why. And I was like, I'm chilling. I'm cool. Like, it's not affecting me. But just first world experience. You shared something, I clicked on it, and I made it to here, and I was this is what I was looking for, but I couldn't find a spirit I would share. But I actually put just trying to help. Really, I'm not being an asshole. I swear, I'm just trying to be like, hey, first world experience. I just clicked through all these things, and this is what I experienced. I was looking for this, and if it was there, it would have been cool. And then it was received, and it was received well. But I felt like there was a little tension at first. And I was like, no, I'm not being sarcastic.
Well, it's the internet too, because you can't, even with, there's times like with my own husband that,
Inflection.
you like, when you text something or you put it on the internet, especially when it's people you don't know super well, there's people where when they write stuff, I can literally hear them say it because I just know how they speak. And I'm like, oh, that's funny, or that's whatever.
It's their articulation.
But the way you can just read something. I had an English teacher one time who had us write some off the wall sentence and just read it with every different inflection. And it was like, and when you really think about how much a sentence changes, but that's what I think the internet's amazing, and you reach all these people and all these amazing things about the internet. And then the fact that we can do all this on the internet, but we can't, there's got to be a way to put inflection with what you type. You know what I mean? Because you can't put an audio clip or a video clip to everything.
Well, I think
sometimes I wish you could, but that's so much more work and so much more whatever. But just without having to type this is funny and then type something there's got to be a way. Yeah. I hate that. Ha ha ha, but I'm just trying to get my point across.
If you've ever texted with me or messaged almost every other one, I'll go back and be like, I put a ha ha or an LOL on 87%
just so you know,
of the messages.
It's just funny.
Because I'm legitimately saying, if I'm texting back and forth with someone and we're going fast, it's I'm probably smiling and laughing while dropping jokes at you. So I don't know, it's just a weird thing. But how do you know? How did they get away with that in papers for so long? Yeah. Where the only way you read about anything was through someone's words and how they actually inflected the emotion into it while being emotionless because they're just being a writer, a journalist. Or you could just learn grammar and use it correctly. There's a reason.
Again, moral of the story, no grammar.
There's a lot of universities in Ohio.
Is no grammar? Is that grammatically correct? No grammar.
I don't know. So I would be an internet cowboy version of a sheriff on grammar. I'm not I don't really know all the rules, but they gave me a badge.
That's stupid.
And you're friends with Keith Goyette, so it's So that gives you more street cred.
Yeah, I share wrestling gifts and means with the chief of police, so don't
So
mess.
that gives you more street cred as the sheriff of Grammar.
Yeah, I like that. I'm gonna print a badge for
Yeah.
Grammar Police. No, it usually doesn't. Like, I was usually the person getting picked on for that, so I think maybe it's just PTSD. Like, maybe I just feel like maybe I'm in a position now where I can.
Or do we need to process you taking your trauma out on other people now?
Oh, I totally do that. It's wrestling. So my dad put me in. He made me a gladiator at 7 years old. It's his fault.
This is your.
It did mentally shape like the whole way I think about stuff. Like 7 and 8 years old. Like you kind of talk about like early things that you remember. Like I was doing such crazy stuff physically and mentally at 7 and 8 that like I joke, like the joke is like I'll be literally back against the wall in a corner and I'll look at you and be like, it's fine. Like, it's cool. Like, how can you be so calm and collected? And I'm like, because I've literally had like kids laying on my chest trying to choke me for like minutes. Like, this is fine. I can breathe. It's no big deal. We're chilling. Got air conditioning in here. I can eat whatever I want today. Yeah, but, like, it really did change my life. I remember coming down
wild.
2nd grade. I was coming down. It was a kid's birthday party. Coming down the steps. Dad's picking me up. I'm eating a cookie. And my dad is like, I'm 7. 7 years old. And he's like, he goes, I'm walking up. I don't even think I forgot. He's like, you have a weigh-in tonight for the tournament on Saturday. What are you doing? You know you can't eat before practice. You need...
Yeah. You're like
7 years old. I don't know if you have a kid that's like maybe set. I wouldn't look at a 10-year-old and be like, give me that cookie, you little idiot. What are you thinking? You got to weigh 45 pounds, 0.0 tonight at the end of practice so you can wrestle in this wrestling tournament in Westford, like 4 hours away this weekend. And I was like, oh, that's right.
But you think about
throwing a cookie away at 7.
There's always things, no matter what you do, there's going to be something your kid comes back and says, like, I can't believe you did this. And
I love it now.
And it's wild having multiple kids. And you think about, we look at our oldest, and there's 10 years difference between our oldest and our youngest. And so for him to get to see just the differences, because each kid is different, but then you learn things as a parent too. Right. And, in some ways, we've been harder on each kid in different ways. Right. And so, your first kid, plus he was the only kid for a little while. So that's all your focus. And then you get to that last kid and you're like, I eat a lollipop. I don't care.
Yeah, sure, you'll be fine.
You're going to be fine. He's like, our oldest is like, I couldn't eat a lollipop till I was like 5.
Yeah.
And I wasn't allowed to do this. I wasn't allowed to, and the things you remember, but it all balances out to like, then you remember things about your parents that are like we were talking about, the same kind of things that they probably don't even remember saying or doing, but are these like endearing things that you latch onto. But then we also remember these odd things that like, I was allowed to eat a lollipop till I was like 5. And, and then here's my little brother.
Got one right now.
Can I have a lollipop? Okay.
I had to pay for my own pager at 15. And then at 16, I got a phone, and that was like the whole birthday present. And no phones until you're 16. You don't need one unless you can drive anyway.
Yeah.
So I turned 16 in March, get a cell phone. Get to Christmas, freaking 2 middle kids get cell phones. I'm like, they're 10 and 12. They're like, yeah, but they're all over the place. We need to know. We need to be able to get a hold of them. What the hell?
They're different. Yeah.
What? What happened to need a car, need a thing? Well, she's always over here. He's always over there. I was like, whoa, 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 whoa.
Yeah.
I'm the only one in a sport. Those little turds just do nothing all day.
I will tell you, I don't feel any of your pain though, because I grew up an only child.
Yes, so did
so it was
bliss.
Totally different. But I realize now as an adult, I wish I had siblings. Growing up, nobody truly understands you're growing up like your siblings do, because they are living through the same trenches stuff. Yeah. And I realized when I was in high school that I didn't have anybody else to take any of the spotlight off me. Like, I had no siblings. That's true. To be like, any trouble I got in or anything that was going on with me, there was nobody to be like, yeah, but like my little brother did this, or my my little sister did this. You know, there was nobody. It was all me. But there are definitely times that I look back now and appreciate that there's stuff I didn't have to share with anybody.
Oh, yeah, totally. Like, the thing that used to drive me the craziest, I told you I didn't do anything in high school. Like, I was mouthy and I was, like, mean. Like, I was a jerk and stuff. But, like, I never partied in high school. I'm a senior. My stepsister is a freshman.
Yeah.
Literally, the summer going into that year, she gets caught in the basement of the house, and her friends are handing liquor bottles through the little basement window.
Yeah.
And then they come around to the front door and knock, and then her mom would open the door. Oh, hey.
Hey, you're here to
Gina.
play board games?
Hey, Emily. She's down in the basement.
Yeah.
You know where to find her. Yeah, they know where to find her. They just handed her 3 bottles of liquor down the damn window. So she gets caught for that. Grounded.
Yeah.
And then, like, it's like the whole time, I'm the one that's living like the convict. And it's like, they're like, well, you never come home till midnight. When do I have to be home? Midnight. So why would I come home earlier than that? Well, what are you doing all night? Not being here.
What are you out doing?
I don't know. I'm not being home. That's
Are
all
you
I know.
handing liquor bottles through windows? Like...
So funny part was, I actually did get caught with that. So I never did drink in high school, but all my friends did.
Yeah.
And they had the older brother that would get us stuff. So, entrepreneur, always, at heart. I was like, hey, Dane, give Chris this 20. Tell him to get me that big plastic bottle of rum.
Yeah.
Brown rum, spiced. Bring it back.
Premium stuff, plastic bottle.
It was probably $12, and then he kept the 8.
Yeah.
But I was tickled.
Yeah.
$20 is great. And then I would fill 16-ounce water bottles, break it down into the little bottles. Don't tell Keith this. He'll get me. So we would break the little bottles, and then I would just sell them to my friends. And so I remember my mom called me, and she's crying. I'm like, what are you crying about? It's fine. You know, I'm always like, everything's fine. What are you crying about? She's like, just come home. I need to talk to you. What the fuck could this be? So I go all the way home. I walk in, and she's like sitting there. She goes, I found it. I said, what'd you find? She goes, back in your room. I had the room in the basement.
Yeah.
She goes, back in the little closet where the water meter is, behind the wall.
Yeah.
Just could load it up with stuff. And so she goes, I found it. I'm like, oh no. And she's like, it's a lot of alcohol, Zach. Do you have something you want to tell me? And I remember being like, no. And she's like, it's okay. You can tell me. And I'm thinking, she's probably thinking I have this ridiculous alcohol issue at 16, 17 years old. And she's like, just tell me the truth. I said, Mom, I'm making a killing. I'm buying that for $20, and I can make 6 bottles out of it, and I sell those for $20. So I'm making $100 every weekend, Mom. And I'm like, you know, she's saying, just tell me.
Yeah,
I'm like,
just tell me the truth.
So I did. I'm like, I may as well just tell her. Just so I tell her that, and she's like, and she really starts crying. I'm like, Mom, what?
Isn't this better?
I said, it's fine. she goes, I'm like, what? Why are you crying? Like, that's worse. I just told you I'm not even drinking. She goes, you're not drinking. You're just selling alcohol to all of your friends. She goes, I don't know what's worse. My son being a 17-year-old alcoholic, or a 17-year-old alcohol dealer. Like, well, I can tell you what's worse, being the alcoholic. I'm not even drinking it, Mom. I'm just selling it to my degenerate friends. And there's just like a whole thing.
I'm just hanging around the wrong people.
Yeah, I'm like, it's cool. I just hang out with all these kids, and their parents give them money, and then they go out of town for the weekend. So, like, obviously, there's opportunity there. You know, Chris is hooking me.
Opportunity.
I'm like, you guys put me together with Chris, you know, because he was a really good wrestling coach. He didn't realize he was 23 years old. He's bringing me bottles of liquor so I can make money. Come on, man. But yeah, it was stupid stuff you do. But
isn't it wild when you think about the fact that you were, like, when you hit that point where you can just share, like, the stuff you did as a kid, when you're past the point of, you're like, I can't get in trouble for it anymore.
Now,
I can't, like, none of the people are going to be that angry anymore. Like, I'm just going to share all my stuff as a teenager. And
I did that at like 19. So, like, and this was like I was probably a junior at that time, because that was probably one of the things that we really didn't get along after.
Yeah.
And then I kind of needed to find a place to go stay
at
Dad's. But that was just like one of those little things where we had a conversation. I was like, Mom, what's the big deal? And then I remember being like, I don't know why she was so mad about that. Like,
yeah.
Why?
It's a big deal.
Do you ever share family memories now
Yeah.
where then like people in the family have way different versions?
So that
of
was
the
one of
same
them.
Story.
So like 5 years after that, I'm like 22.
Yeah.
I think Steph may have been with me. And so I'm like started to hang out with mom again, starting to be cool again. And I remember being like, remember that time when you were like so mad and this and this? She goes, I still don't believe you. I was like, I swear. She's like, I still don't believe you. You're my kid. I knew what I was doing in high school. And I was like, Mom, literally, like, I swear, I legit told the truth.
Just
and
wait
she's like,
till that
okay.
to you with your kid. Your kids do something and you're going to be like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, but I know. Like,
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, I was like, Mom, I really didn't. Not at all.
You heard it here.
Yeah. Facts.
He's just an entrepreneur.
I was. Well, I was like, Mom, remember when I got in trouble in kindergarten for selling creepy crawlers on the bus? My dad got a phone call when I was like sitting there eating dinner. Phone rings. The house phone for all you young kids back there.
The landline.
The landline rang. We didn't even have cell phones at this time. I was like in first grade, I was 6. And he gets a phone call. He gets up from the dinner table, answers it, which wasn't a big deal. It's not like we had the dinner time. He answers it, sits back down. We finish eating. And he's like, has this talk with me as a 6-year-old about selling creepy crawlers on the bus. He's like, so-and-so's dad just called. He wanted to know where his son's money went. His son told him that he gave it all to you because you had creepy crawlers and pogs. And he goes, and another thing that I think you should talk to your son about is, he did a trade with my son. And your son got like some number of pogs, but he only gave my son 1. He goes, I just don't, just wanted to let you know your son's like kind of hustling people. I don't know what the terms were, or the words at the time, but that's kind of the gist of it. And my dad will tell you to this day about that conversation and him being like, he was probably 35-ish. He's probably my age at the time. He goes, I got that phone call and kind of chuckled and came back to the table. And in my head, I was going, you mean to tell me my kid just outsmarted your kid? Man, tell your kid to quit being so stupid.
That
I was
like,
jeez.
pride of being a dad.
Yeah, he was like,
my kid. My kid.
He did get you, didn't he? But I remember he had the talk with me. He's like, I remember having the talk with you, and I told you, hey, just with whoever that kid, just don't be doing that. They don't like it. And like 6th grade, I got in trouble for this kid accused me of stealing their pens. So I would pick up pens on the floor. Like you walk out of as soon as you walk out we had this other teacher that taught us, like, when you walk out of Mr. O'Neill's room, everything that's in O'Neill's room is property of Mr. O'Neill.
Yeah.
It's a dictatorship. It's not a democracy. He's the dictator.
Chuck, you ask our kids. Chuck told them when they were little, possession is 9 tenths of the law.
That's right. Exactly. And so he always used to tell us that you'd show up to Mr. O's class and it'd be like, oh, what are we doing today? Taking notes. Ah, Holcomb, no pen today. Yeah. Well, lucky for you, it's a note-taking day. 10 cents, let you borrow it for the period. 25 cents, you can have it. Like he would do deals like that.
Yeah.
Like he was like I loved him. He was like my favorite teacher. And dang. And I remember like next time I come to class, didn't have a pen. I said, cool. I said, it's all right. I got a dime. I just need it for the class. He goes, oh, Mr. Holcomb. Little lesson about supply and demand. The other day, you got to rent a pen for 10 cents. We were taking notes. Only 5 points at stake that day. He goes, today's a test. 100 points. He goes, that pen. He goes, do the math. It's going to cost you $1 to borrow it today. $2 to own it. He goes, don't want to be missing out on all these points, Mr. Holcomb. Shoot. And he got me. And so I was like, all right. So I started hustling pens. And then it came the day where someone needed a pen in Mr. O'Neill's room. I let Mr. O'Neill talk first. He told Josh it'd be a quarter. I said, Josh, no worries. I got you right here for 10 cents. And Mr. O'Neill turned around with this big smile on his face and he goes, Mr. Holcomb, there is no free commerce in O'Neill land. Again, to remind you, this is a dictatorship. You purchase all goods from the government here. I remember being like, dang it. But I could do it anywhere else.
Now you
but
learn
not in
all
O'Neill
about
land.
dictatorships.
Yeah.
And
he was a history teacher.
Yeah.
So he was teaching us like history and economics and things like that through lessons of him teaching you how to
And the moral of this story is beware when you come in here that you don't drop any pens,
Yeah.
that you don't.
Yeah, if you leave a pen, it's mine. You can
And
buy it
he'll
back
sell
tomorrow
it back to you.
for $1. But yeah, I got called up at the house for that too in like 6th grade. It was like, well, he's got this particular style of pen, and I brought those back from this area for my son, and your son stole it from my son. My dad goes, what?
Oh, the bougie pen.
My dad goes, what
parents.
happened with that pen? I said, he left it on the floor in whatever class, and he walked out. He said he came back looking for it, and you told him you didn't see it. I said, he walked out of class. He goes, Zach, just give him the damn pen. Just give him. He's like, I'm getting a phone call over a pen. Can you give the kid the damn pen back? I was like, yeah.
Gosh.
But I was so
When
literal.
parents
I was
would
like, no.
call parents.
Yeah, over a pen or
over
a 10-to-1 pog trade.
I
Dude, get a freaking. It's my dad's like, to this day, I'll be like, that's all I thought in my head. I'm 33 years old. Yeah. Oh, you mean to tell me my 6-year-old son swindled your son out of pogs? Give me a break. I'm trying to eat dinner. I got real problems. He's like, I got a whole
stuff to deal with.
He just switched to insurance. He's like, I got cold calls I got to make tonight. It was funny though. Anyway. Or we're well into the third hour of this episode. So we'll probably just call it a wrap.
Yeah.
We just make it 5 hours and the whole season 2 in one episode.
Yeah, we'll just cover season 2. We'll do the intro to season 3 and we'll be
Yeah.
good.
So this was season 2, and the next
See you
episode
next
will
season.
be season 3. So, but no, I really appreciate you coming on. Again, seriously, the 1 kidney equals season premiere.
Yes.
Happy to help.
Okay, well, I got to figure out rest of season 2 cast. Is that what we're calling it? You better up
Special guest.
up your game, and I'll see what I can do to get that season 3 premiere.
Yeah.
I have other organs, so.
Yeah. Maybe you'll get some Bitcoin for these ones. Anyway, hope you all had a good time. This is Kicking It With season 2, episode 1, or if you just want to call it episode 52. My name is Zac Holcomb. This is Liz Hengst, and we appreciate you stopping by to kick it with us.